This meeting to order. I guess we're going to do roll call. I don't see Precious. Okay, you're going to do roll call today. I'm like, wait, we're even missing Precious today.
I get the privilege today, Chair.
Good. Go ahead.
John Carr. Rick Stopek.
Here.
Barbara Roth.
Here.
Daymar Bros.
Here.
Marissa Laldas.
Present.
Penny Ponte.
Present.
Glenn Groman. Kylie Harper Larson. Bert Patel.
Here.
Angela Van. Brian Stenberg.
Here.
David Searle. You have a quorum.
All right. Thank you. If everybody could get up and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. All right. Is there any proof of publication?
Yes.
Okay. So there's no postponements or anything like that, right?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, so then we'll go to consideration of minutes from last time. Anybody?
Can we get just a motion to approve the agenda, March 8th?
I'm sorry. What did you want to do? I'm sorry.
Just a motion to approve the agenda?
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Got it? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next consideration of minutes.
Move to approve the minutes as submitted.
So we got a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now, comments, if any member of the public would like to speak on anything that is not on today's agenda. All right, moving on. Got a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to speak either. Let's go ahead and go to the first item on the agenda. That'll be the small-scale amendment for Lantana Plaza. If we could have the applicant come up. Thank you.
Good morning, Planning Commission. My name is Jeannie Ducharme with Kotler and Hearing, and I will be presenting Lantana Plaza this morning. So for our project team, we have the owner, which is Lantana Plaza LLC, our civil engineer of record, which is GGB Engineering, the traffic engineer, Kimberly Horn, and landscape architect, which is our firm, Kotler and Hearing. So a part of the request today is the small-scale land use amendment from commercial low to commercial high. Outside of our request today, we would be following with a zoning hearing next month and final BCC adoption for a development order amendment and a Class A conditional use to allow the convenience store with gas and fuel sales, and there are also administrative uses outside of that. So for context, this site is located on the northeast corner of Haverhill Road and Lantana Road, and is just over 9.5 acres. So for site context, we are adjacent to a behavioral health facility and also directly across the street from us, just west, there was a racetrack that's currently under construction and was approved in 2021. And there's also Caliber Collision, which the aerial does not represent it, but it is built and is fully functioning today. And then also just south of us is multifamily developments, Willows and Courtney Park. So the adjacent land uses today to us is just east of our site is a institutional land use of the underlining MR5 directly across the street from us, which is west of us is the commercial low with underlining industrial, and then just north of us is the city of Green Acres, but it is low residential uses, and then south of us is the medium residential uses as well. So today, our request is for the commercial high, the current zoning, which is not part of any of the applications, as its current zone is MUPD. The proposed uses that will go into the site will be a warehouse, a car wash, and a convenience store with gas and fuel sales, with 16 fueling stations. This is our site plan that we are proposing and moving forward with. We are, providing that retention area on the north side of the site to create a buffer, and we're also set back from the behavioral health facility as well, about 123 feet. Thank you for your time and consideration, and just important to note that we are in agreement with all proposed conditions by staff.
All right, staff?
Good morning, Jerry Lodge, the Planning Division. This item is Lantana Plaza. So the site is located on the northeast corner of Lantana and Haverhill Road. It's just over 9.5 acres. The applicant's proposing to change the future land use from commercial low to commercial high and to revise conditions of approval from the previous amendment. The concurrent zoning application is requesting an abandonment, as well as the proposed uses totaling 76,700 square feet, which includes a car wash, a convenience store with fuel sales, and a warehouse with accessory office. In 2004, the site was approved for a land use amendment, which changed the future land use from MR5 to commercial low. This included conditions of approval, which required the site to only have access from Haverhill Road and Lantana Road. The other two conditions of approval required cross-hatching on the easternmost 50 feet of the site and the northernmost 200 feet of the site. Commercial cross-hatching is a strategy included in the plan, which ensures compatibility of commercial properties with adjacent residential uses. The commercial cross-hatching is implemented through conditions of approval, and then it's maintained on the future land use atlas. Within these areas, the uses are restricted to water retention, landscaping, and/or at-grade parking. However, the long-term storage of vehicles is prohibited. So the proposed conditions will retain the requirement for access to be limited to Haverhill Road and Lantana Road. The applicant's also proposing to revise the previously adopted condition 2 to reduce the use limitation area from 50 feet to 40 feet to accommodate the location of the proposed car wash vacuum stations. Condition 3 is being revised to reduce the use limitation area on the northernmost area of the site from 200 feet to 165 feet. And this is due to the right-of-way acquisition of 30 feet from the previous approval, as well as a required private lift station as a part of this proposal. Staff and applicant are in agreement with these conditions. So here's an overview of the area with the site outlined in the white dashed lines. The site currently has a commercial low future land use. East of the site is the Recovery Village Palm Beach Drug and Alcohol Rehab Facility, which received a future land use amendment in 2014 to change about 10 1/4 acres from MR5 to institutional with underlying 5 units per acre. Oh, there you go. Further east are 2 industrial properties which were also subject to 2 future land use amendments in 2018 and 2020, and that changed the future land use on just under 6 acres from MR5 to industrial with underlying 5 units per acre, and this was to develop the self-storage facility that's on the site currently. Further east across DeSoto Road and south of the site, on the south side of Lantana Road, are low and medium residential future land uses. And west of the site, on the west side, on the northwest corner of Lantana Road and Haverhill Road, are multiple properties which have been subject to several future land use amendments, which has resulted in commercial low and commercial low with underlying industrial and underlying 5 unit per acre on those sites. These properties comprise the western edge of the commercial node and receive similar conditions of approval, requiring cross-hatching along the northern 200 feet and the western 50 feet of those properties. Further west is the American German Club with an institutional future land use. And then north of the site is the Verona Estates residential development, which consists of single-family homes and the municipal limits of Green Acres. The applicant is requesting the commercial high future land use because it offers a greater variety of uses, including the proposed warehouse with accessory office. Staff concludes that this site meets the location criteria for commercial high future land use designation. It's also compatible with the existing development pattern of the corridor and consistent with the applicable policies in the plan. Staff's recommending approval with conditions, and the motion is approval with conditions.
Thank you. We have some public comments. I'll let Rick speak about them.
Yeah, we just have one public comment on this agenda item. Mr. Kendall Dunn, if you're available, please step up to the podium of your choice. And if you could state your name and address for the record, and you'd have 3 minutes, sir.
Good morning. Kendall Dunn. I live in Verona Estates, 4725 Foxdale Palm Court, Green Acres, Florida, 33463.
Could you speak into the mic so it's on the record,
Yeah.
please?
Can you hear me? Yeah, 47. Do I have an extra minute then? Yeah, 4725 Foxdale Palm Court, Green Acres, Florida, 33463 is my zip code. My house is actually about 50 feet to this site, extremely close off Nash Trail. I'm opposing it going from commercial low to commercial high, mainly because it's a residential community. All the areas are surrounding are residential communities that's not mentioned, including Nautica and even further down. They did build a gas station recently that's opening up there. I don't see the need for another gas station and making it commercial high. I think this will be disparaging for the community. I'm speaking on behalf of the community as well, because we do have a lot of kids that come out for school as well, and that area in particular is a family-oriented community, and I just don't think it will add much value, much help to this community right now. I know that this property has been out there for a while to be sold, but I think remaining at least commercial low or family residential will add a lot more benefit, especially with the shortage of housing in the whole of Palm Beach as well.
Thank you. The other comments, are they for this? All right, I'm going to now let the commission ask questions. Normally I'd go to Dagmar, but I'll just go instead to David on the other side. Sorry, Brian.
I have no questions.
Rick?
I have no questions at this time either.
Barbara?
Yes, thank you. I was interested in whether there would be any public comment on it, and thank you, Kendall, for coming. This site reminds me in configuration and size of something that we've been watching for a long time on Boynton Beach Boulevard, where there's a whole lot put on that site. I guess this is land use. I understand the difference, but sometimes we need to know a little bit. Is the person from Cutler and Hearing still here? Thank you. May I? Thank you. In terms of the configuration of uses, do you have an idea of what would be where, north to south, on that 9+ acres?
Yeah, so in our presentation, we have the site plan, and so we're proposing the warehouse, which is more north of the site, and the gas station and the car washer at that very corner south of the site, that main intersection.
And the type of warehouse, please?
So it's going to assist the blue collar work field. So it's going to be smaller users, like your typical tile guy. That there's a big need for the market. We did a market study, and if you're a painter, it's really to serve the working community for those people who live in those residents currently. It is the blue collar, it's the trade workers, it's your plumber, and that's what it's there to serve. It's to serve the current residents that live there.
No outside areas or bays for work closest to the community that is to the north? There wouldn't be anything like that?
No, not that we saw in this particular area. A lot of the site is being built more out west, so there's available space. It's not very common to have this amount of space available in suburban area, urban area that's currently today.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to be certain that nearby communities were protected.
Yes, of course. And we are set back over 165 feet from the Verano Estates as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, I think we got an additional public comment. Rick, if you want to.
No, this is on 3. Okay, so there's nothing for this one now.
All right, I apologize, my mistake. Commissioner Das?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Pompey?
No questions, thank you.
I guess it goes to you.
Good morning. Could staff please explain to me the CLX? And obviously that's where the retention pond is, but it does seem to wrap around the property to the east. And then it crosses across the street behind the Able Lawnmower site. And then it goes down between Able and the American German Club. Can you explain what the CLX is and how that came to be?
CLX is included in the plan as a mitigation measure for commercial properties that abut residential properties. So rather than having conditions which would limit the uses, it's included within the future land use atlas. And it was implemented first on the Able Lawnmower sites to the west. And it really just gives a visual representation of the conditions requiring the uses. And it's further cemented within the plan that says that within these areas, only the at-grade parking, drainage, those uses are only allowed within it.
So it is somewhat of a protection buffer to the residents, not only to the north, but also to the property that's institutional, which is known as the German Club.
Yes,
And how wide is that between the German Club and the Able?
that's 50 feet.
50 feet. And basically, as you stated, it's only for water retention setback. Nobody can build on those properties. It is.
You can build parking on the site. You can use it for parking, but no long-term storage parking. So it could be parking associated with the development, but not for like a rental space to park.
All right. Thank you.
All right, I have a couple of questions. So in staff, in your report, you put a statement saying that the current site does not exhibit characteristics of a strip commercial development. How do you determine that?
So that would be if there were several parcels connected that had access to each other. That would be like strip commercial, or I'm sorry, not access to each other. They would have their own curb cuts into the main thoroughfare. But this one is one unified MUPD, so it's not strip commercial.
Okay. What does commercial low allow as far as square footage for that current site?
That is 0.5 FAR, which is 210,000 square feet and change.
Okay, and then the new commercial high would be 357,000 square feet, as according to your report?
Yep,
Is staff
0.85.
looking to put a cap on what they can maximize on that property?
So we typically do a cap if there's a issue with the traffic. However, this passes our long-range 35D analysis. And, you know, the site is pretty constrained, so they can only do so much on the site without, you know, it would be very hard for them to probably get up to that maximum potential anyway.
Okay. Now, you did mention that in the past approval, there was an environmental remediation done, but then I didn't see any details about that. So what's the environmental remediation you guys are referring to?
I think the applicant could respond to that question.
Applicant, if you'd like to come and respond to that, please.
Yes, we've met with on several occasions. There was a previous brownfield, and there was some contamination issues, and we've been working through them with the retention area to make sure we mitigate any contamination issues. And we're still working through that with them, and we are working through conditions of approval as well with them through the zoning application.
So my question is, by you reducing the setback over there, or not the setback, the area for the crosshatch on the northernmost side, does that affect this remediation process? Because we haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, no, the lake is already established today, so there's no modifications done to that. It's more of a environmental process that they need to go through, which we are still working through with So what those are, I don't know as of today because it's prior to zoning hearing. But the lake is already established; it's already there. That's not changing. And everything that's within that feet. The only thing that changed was the access. We added access to that. So that setback to 200 feet. So that's the only thing that's changing from the 200 to the 165 today.
Do you know how big is the gas station you guys are proposing? Like how many pumps or something?
16 fuel stations.
16 fuel stations. So what is the canopy size for that?
I have to pull it up, but it's I would say maybe around 75 feet in length. I would have to actually look it up. I'm not sure exactly what the actual size is, but it meets the required setbacks from curb because it's a requirement through the code to have 30-foot setback from curb to canopy. So there's enough access around the entire for the fuel trucks and that, et cetera. And that's on the south side of the property, which is away from the detention area.
Got it. All right, question for staff. When you're reducing the crosshatch on the east side from 50 to 40, the reason they're giving is for the location of the car wash and the vacuum stations. Those are the most noise generation in general on site, and that's going to abut the assisted living. Is that not a cause of concern?
So staff definitely reviewed that closely with the applicant. The issue that came into play was the location of the mechanical components for the vacuum stations within the 50-foot crosshatch. The applicant has contemplated a increased buffer or additional mitigation measures to ensure that any noise generated by those mechanical vacuums is mitigated to the greatest extent possible. So we did talk through that with the applicant extensively, but this seemed to be the best path forward in order to allow this proposal to proceed.
And as I do may, as the applicant, we are proposing a wall along that buffer as well. We are doing acoustic paneling around all the turbines, and the vacuum stations are designed to make less noise and stuff of that nature. So we are taking mitigation measures as much as possible. And we did receive a letter of support from the behavioral health facility for the project itself.
Okay, and then on the northernmost side, are you doing a decent amount of landscape buffer so that the residential area is not necessarily as affected?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so we are on the north side of the site. We are doing the 15 feet buffer and then we are going to do as far as our landscape plan is done during the permitting process. But we have been in discussion with the adjacent owners and the city of Green Acres to make sure that there is exceeds the code requirement to make sure that we mitigate noise as much as possible.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Hagmar has a question.
Mitigation for contaminated property, and this is, I guess, to both you and when you say, because I know I've been familiar with this property for a while, and it was a lumber company where they used to treat lumber with the chemicals to make it pressure treated wood. What does mitigation mean? Do they have to dig the dirt out and bring in fresh dirt, or what kind of mitigation are we talking about?
Good morning. For the record, Mark Meyer, Palm Beach County They are actively going through a process with FDEP to clean up and remediate the soil. They're actively going through a process with FDEP. It's my understanding that they're going to cap the soil.
They're going to cap the soil, which means they're going to leave the contaminated soil, but they're going to put soil on top of the bad soil, and hopefully eventually it will go away.
It's my understanding, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Discussion or motion? Anyone?
If you're ready for a motion, I can make a motion.
Sure. Let's make a motion.
So I move to approve the project with the modifications recommended by staff.
All right. We got a motion and a second. Anyone for discussion before I call roll? No. Motion prepare. Would you On the 40-foot part, would you be willing to add that they put a condition that they have to get a buffer because of the noise? Or if not, then that's fine too.
Yeah, so that's
Will that be a
something.
zoning?
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be in the zoning
Then we're
application.
fine.
We'll work through that with them.
And we're good. Can we get roll on that, please?
Barbara Roth,
Yes.
Penny Pompey,
Yes.
Dagmar Braz, Rick Stopek,
Yes.
Brian Steinberg,
Yes.
Varissa Lal Das,
Yes.
and Kurt Patel.
Yes.
Unanimous approval.
All right, moving on to the next one. Application for Port of Palm Beach Master Plan revisions.
Chair, I would like to recuse myself from this vote. Thank you.
Okay. All right, applicant?
Okay. Good morning, David Willock with the Planning Division. The item for the board is a county-initiated text amendment known as the Port of Palm Beach Master Plan revisions. You probably remember this. It was before you about a month ago. Not much has changed. The proposed amendment would revise transportation and coastal management elements to incorporate by reference the Port of Palm Beach Master Plan, which was updated and adopted by the Port of Palm Beach Commission and is dated September 8, 2023. As with previous updates, 3 portions of the master plan will be incorporated into the comprehensive plan. Appendix A, which contains the goals, objectives, and policies. Figure 55, which contains the improvements 0 to 5 years. And Figure 57, which is a capital improvements plan. The Port Master Plan is required by statute to be incorporated into the county comprehensive plan. The master plan is reviewed by several county departments for consistency with the comp plan, and comments are also provided during the update. Notice of this amendment was sent to the City of West Palm Beach and the City of Riviera Beach, with Riviera providing comments which are included in the report. As such, Planning Division recommends approval of the proposed amendment, and Carl Baker from the Port is here if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Any public comments? All right. Does anybody have any questions on this? No? Can we go straight to motion?
I move to approve.
We got a couple of seconds.
You can pick one.
Pick one.
Penny.
Got it. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. Next one is the privately initiated amendment for Central Park Commerce Center. So we can get the applicant.
We have one card on this one.
Good morning. For the record, Joni Brinkman with Urban Design Studio on behalf of the applicant. Some of you, I believe, may be new, but we did present this to you before in October for initiation. We're back now for the presentation of the text amendment and the land use plan amendment. The Central Park of Commerce is located at what we refer to as 20 Mile Bend. It's east of the FP&L facility and the mining activities associated with Palm Beach aggregates. The parcel we're talking about actually was included in the mine and is being removed from that and incorporated into our existing MUPD. This shows you the 138.31 acres that had already been approved, had already had these similar text amendments to the plan approved and adopted, and there is an existing MUPD approval on that property. The subject property is the square at the south side, 64.46 acres. You'll see that it lines up on the east side of the existing boundary of the MUPD. We're requesting that the text be amended in the plan to allow for the limited service area to be expanded to this and the land area expanded for the MUPD. It shows you the existing and the area that's subject to this request. Again, this commission approved the initiation of the text amendments in October. The Board of County Commissioners approved the initiation in November, and this will allow for the limited service area to be expanded to the additional land area. It includes changes to policies 1.8C, 3.3A regarding the LUSHA, the maps LU 1.1 and LU 2.1, again regarding the LUSHA area, and a note to the table in regards to the amount of acreage allowed for the EDC land use designation within the Glades Protection Overlay. Our land use plan amendment associated with this is to change the 64 acres from RR10 to Economic Development Center, which is consistent with the rest of the already approved MUPD. We're going to be revising some conditions in the last approval for that land use plan amendment and apply those conditions to expand and cover this additional land area. These are the conditions of approval that are included in your staff report. We are not proposing to increase any traffic associated with the prior land use plan approval. We were limited to a certain amount of traffic, square feet, or traffic equivalency to trips. We will be maintaining that. So basically, we're just expanding the land area to allow for additional site planning opportunities to potentially use more warehouse than industrial. Data center is still part of the development program, though. The condition number 2 was a condition to basically commence development. The zoning and planning director had determined that based on our infrastructure improvements we've already done on the site, we've met that. So that condition is being deleted. It's no longer required. Per the GAPO, a continuing prohibition for any residential uses in this area. And then staff is recommending and requiring that we process the land use and the rezoning at the same time. We have already submitted that application to the zoning division. Again, this shows you the existing MUPD and the area to be added. This is what shows you the existing GAPO area. We are not expanding GAPO. It's already located within GAPO. The limited service area also is applicable to Arden to the east. Already applicable to our approved MUPD, and will now be applicable to the expanded area for the MUPD. Blue amendment, same thing. I know this is repetitive. I'll try to get through this quick. EDC right now on our existing MUPD, and we'll be adding that land use designation to the expanded area. In regards to the surrounding uses, Arden is to the east, separated from our property by a 400-foot wildlife corridor and a 500-foot L8 canal. The FP&L facility that you're all familiar with is located to the west. And South Florida Water Management owns the wildlife corridor and all the lands to the north. Just representative pictures of the area. This is the FP&L facility to the west. This is a significant berm that was installed along State Road 7 south in the south portion of this area being added that will remain and be enhanced. There are some existing uses on the 64 acres associated with the mine, including an asphalt and concrete batch plant and a secondary containment site. Those all have approved final site plans from Palm Beach County Zoning and will be vested, as stated in your staff report, as non-conforming uses until redevelopment of the site with the industrial uses take place in order to continue supporting the operation of the mine until that operation ceases. Or we redevelop, which hopefully will be very quickly. This is just a history about in 2016 when we removed the initial MUPD from the mining approval. In 16 and 18, there were amendments to the ordinance for the land use. Again, this board and the Board of County Commissioners approved the initiation of this request. And the development order amendment, as required, has already been submitted to the zoning division. In regards to actually what we're changing, very minor. We're just increasing the acreage that was previously allowed in the GAPO for this for the LUSHA to 202.79 acres, just the increase is 64.46 acres. Same thing for the objective 3.3 and the note in the table. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Staff?
Morning, Maria Bella with the Planning Division. This amendment, as the applicant's agent has noted, is right in the center of the county. It places, the site is placed right on the eastern edge of the Glades Tier, and as noted before, on the north side of Southern Boulevard, just west of the L8 Canal and just east of 20 Mile Bend, and right within the Glades area protection overlay, which is outlined here in orange, and more on the GAPO in just a moment. So, as the applicant's agent noted, the purpose of this amendment request is to add 64 acres to an already existing MUPD approval that the board approved back in 2016. When the board approved that amendment back in 2016, it was introducing the LUSA concept and the Economic Development Center future land use designation within the GAPO west of the L8 for the first time. And so those amendments capped those designations, the LUSA designation and the Economic Development Center designation, at the acreage, the exact acreage associated with that MUPD. And so for the purposes of adding 64 acres to this, those numbers would need to be revised to encompass the entire 202 acres. And so that is the nature of the text amendment that is proposed to then allow for the future land use designation amendment of those 64 acres to the Economic Development Center designation. The text amendments, as was noted, were initiated by the board back in November, and so that permits this amendment to move forward to you today. In terms of the GAPO, I know some of you are familiar with this history, but perhaps some of you are not. The GAPO was created by the Board of County Commissioners back in 2004 as part of an annexation prevention strategy. At the time, the Village of Wellington, which is located just south of Southern Boulevard, in this area, there were concerns that the Village of Wellington was going to annex some of the large properties on the north side of Southern Boulevard and potentially even properties further west into the Everglades agricultural area. And so the board created the GAPO in order to control and limit uses within this area. As part of that annexation prevention strategy, the board also approved a LUSA and a low-density LR2 designation east of the L8 Canal, which subsequently became the Arden project, and then also required a restrictive covenant of the property owner in order to restrict or to prevent the owner from agreeing to voluntary or involuntary annexations and to restrict, again, uses within the area. Then in 2016, the board approved the current Central Park Commerce Center approval and, again, limited that approval to the 138 acres of that original request. And so that is why this is back before you again today within the GAPO. So, as noted, the proposed amendments, and these are again outlined in your staff report, include text amendments to increase that acreage amount from the 138 to the full 202 acres, and to the future land use amendment to change the designation to Economic Development Center. And as noted, to also revise conditions associated with that original approval. And again, the first condition, which limits the number of uses or the trip equivalent, is not being changed. But it would now allow those square footages to be applied over the entire 202 acres. The second condition is being deleted because it has been met, and then an additional condition, which we now include in all amendments, is being added in order to require the zoning and land use actions concurrently. So the staff assessment, in terms of the policy considerations, essentially these were asked and answered back in 2016. There were a number of key considerations that were brought before the board, and they included things like the need for additional employment in the central western communities, which, as you may know, had been the subject of the sector planning process prior, and that had been a finding of the sector plan process. It also included consideration of the need for employment in proximity to the Glades area, which this would provide. The board also considered the suitability of the site for other uses, and also the fact that the MUPD proposal in 2016 was not located at the western edge of the GAPO, and so the board approved the amendment at that time. The current amendment before you allows for expansion of the site, but to the south and east to square off the project, not in the at the western edge of the GAPO, and again, does not increase the intensity of the uses over the overall project. So staff is recommending approval with the modifications of the conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any public comment?
We do have one comment card, Mr. Drew Martin, if you'd like to come to the podium, please.
Drew Martin, here on behalf of the Loxatchee Group of the Sierra Club.
And I'm sorry, sir, and address for the record, please.
1015 North M Street, Lake Worth Beach, Palm Beach County. I mean, we just have opposed this from the very beginning. We opposed Arden because we just felt this is creep, and this is creep towards the agricultural areas. It's increasing density, it's increasing traffic, and they've never really had a use for this. It was supposed to be a call center, as far as I know. That wasn't mentioned today. And so it's really, I'm really questioning. I was a little confused when they said this is somehow going to support people in Arden. I'm not sure what they mean by that. I thought this wasn't going to be commercial. Thought this was supposed to be for the economic benefit of the county. At this time, I don't see any real benefit to the county, and I think it's going to, there's going to be a creep of this, and now you're coming right up to the GAPO and right up to the EAA, and the next step, somebody's going to want to go over that line because they're going to say, well, got economic development here, why don't we do it there, and just keep moving. So that's my main concern. I also don't know why they need to increase square acreage. One of the reasons this was approved was because it was limited. Now they're back asking for more. When's that going to end? Are they going to come back again and ask for more in the future? Or are they going to be satisfied with this? I don't think there's any plan for this property. And I think it's just they're doing this so they can peddle this and flip it and make some money, and not because they have a plan that's going to benefit the county. So we are basically opposed to this project being approved. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So then, questions for the commission? Dagmar, go ahead.
I'm always happy when Drew shows up. And that's my question. What's to stop them from saying, and it's such a catch-22. There are so many times developers have come before us and said, well, we need commercial and industrial and economic sites to support, for the residents that live in the area. And then they build all of this that they requested. And now then they say, well, we need the residents to be able to move into here so we can support the commercial and the industrial and the economic needs, designated on these sites. It is a vicious cycle, and I don't know if it's ever going to stop because I've been doing this for a long time and it just happens all the time. But the thing is, west of the site, is that it? Is that the line in the sand for now? Or is that going to be just until somebody says, oh, it's right next to an economic center. Why can't we take 1,000 acres and build, another couple thousand homes?
You're done?
Yeah, we have
I
Maria.
got my-
She's putting up a slide
my
for you.
question
She'll
is,
answer.
what's
Sorry.
to stop them from going further west and creeping into the Glades tier?
You may want to have the applicant's agent address this further, but if you can please show the map that I just indicated. The uses that surround the property, the map may answer some of your questions.
Yes, and in response to that, when we first came before the commission, when this the current project was approved, there was a line in the sand, and that was the FP&L facility. GAPO also prohibits any residential in this area. So we are not expanding to the west. We're staying east of FP&L, and we're also not expanding any further to the east. We're separated from the residential. I know for a fact there are ongoing negotiations with users for this facility. Just a point of clarification, it was not a call center. It was a data center, which you may have read an article in the paper today about that. It was that use is ideally situated on this property with the redundant power source, the FP&L facility next door. It's a needed use. So we actually have a Phase 1 site plan approved, and they intend on moving forward with this. It's not to support commercial uses for the residential in the area. It is a workforce type economic development center, which also only allows light residential uses, no heavy residential uses. So eventually, all the uses that are on the property today will go away.
But that doesn't really answer my question. What stops them from, I mean, I know you're not proposing anything west, Ms. Brinkman, but who is stopping this from inching further and further into the Glades tier? But does the county have a rule? Does the county say, no way today, or can we in the future, because of this economic center, move further in the future?
Hi, good morning. Ernie Cox, project manager for PBA Holdings. I can probably answer that question. The GAPO does not extend further west, so the actual existing comprehensive plan puts the limit at the edge of the GAPO. So if we can go back to that map, it can't go further west.
Who says it can't go further west?
So
Well, it's part of the county's comprehensive plan.
Which has been changed a lot. I mean, how are we going to stop? I mean, I've been up and down Southern Boulevard several times in the last couple of weeks going to Palms West Hospital, but we thought we were going to slow things down in the ag reserve. We thought we were going to, put that line in the sand and say you can't. And what's to stop that same thing that's happening in the ag reserve from happening here?
If I may, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know, but any property owner has the ability to petition the board for a comprehensive plan amendment change.
All right. So there are no guarantees. Thank you.
Yeah, I do want, if we could go back to that, the plan itself.
I think her question's been answered, so you don't have to do this further.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Penny? Commissioner Das?
No questions.
Commissioner Barbara? Commissioner Rick?
Hey, just to follow up on Commissioner Bra's comment, I think we're going to be looking at more and more of this as the years go by, depending on how long any of us have our tenure on this board and the commissioners in West Palm. It's my personal opinion that as the next 10, 15 years, maybe not even that long, evolve, there's going to be a bigger push west for technical, industrial, data centers, as agriculture tends to wax and wane. And from where we sit here, you can't go east, you can't go north, you can't go south. So the logical conclusion is you can go west. And I won't be surprised if in 15 or 20 or 30 years, Belglade and Pahokee are some tech hub. It wouldn't shock me. But having said that, as you know, Commissioner Bras' point, there are no guarantees. We'll have to take them as they come, I suppose, and as they're submitted to us. That's my comment.
Commissioner Stenberg? Commissioner Searle? All right. My thoughts are along Rick's. I mean, I think any property owner can at some point come in front of this commission and the county board and put a project through, and at that point in time, the respective commissions and boards have to decide if the project is viable or not, and they're the ones who can either say no or yes. I mean, I had to question that right now. I don't know if that really gets us anywhere. There's a lot of projects that have come before us which we've had mixed feelings about, but it's been approved, so it is what it is. That being said,
Could I clarify something for the record real quick? The agent mentioned light residential and heavy residential. I think she meant light industrial and heavy industrial. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
yeah,
the
there's
proposal.
a condition, no residential
Yes,
besides
yeah.
caretaker.
Just for the record,
So
you
we
know,
saw
just
the
making sure.
condition.
Okay.
Yes, all right. Can we get a motion? Oh, there's a question or a motion?
You asked for a motion?
Yes. Okay. You raised your hand, so I wasn't sure. Go ahead, make the motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we recommend approval of Central Park Commerce Center with the conditions suggested by staff. Thank you.
All right, got a motion and second. Roll, please.
Chair, also for the record, please note that David Searle has been present since 9:45. So.
Okay, thank you.
Barbara Roth,
Yes.
Penny Pompey,
Yes.
Dagmar Bras,
Yes.
Rick Stopek,
Yes.
David Searle,
Yes.
Brian Steinberg,
Yes.
Varissa Lal Das,
Yes.
and Kurt Patel.
Yes.
Unanimous approval.
All right. Thank you. Now we're going to the regular agenda. Item county proposed text and map series initiation for the environmentally sensitive land.
Yes, so I'll be presenting on this one. So this item and the next two on the agenda are text amendments for initiation. So just as a quick reminder, all comprehensive plan text amendments require initiation by the Board of County Commissioners, and this can be privately proposed or proposed by a county department. And then the initiation by the board authorizes staff to accept the associated future land use amendment, but it does not indicate approval. So planning staff then provides the full staff report and recommendation at subsequent hearings. So this particular item is a county proposed text for initiation, and it was requested by the Department of Environmental Resources Management. is proposing to update the ULDC definition for environmentally sensitive lands and would like to then concurrently add that updated definition to the introduction and administration element of the comprehensive plan. So if initiated, staff will review that term for any conflicts with existing policies throughout all of the elements, and this would be done in coordination with zoning and Staff recommends to initiate, and we also have staff here if you have any questions. So that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have any public comment on this?
We do. Mr. Drew Martin has a comment to the podium, please.
So happy to see everyone early in the morning.
Long time no see.
I was in Arizona dealing with some of their problems out there. Drew Martin again on behalf of the Sierra Club Laxetti Group. They put on there if you oppose or support. And really, I don't think we either oppose or support because we don't really 100% understand what ERM's planning to do. So if they're planning to do anything that's going to harm environmentally sensitive lands, we oppose that. And if they're planning to do something that assists and protects environmentally sensitive lands, we support that. It would be nice to get a little better explanation. We used to have a monthly meeting with ERM, but they canceled it because we were too contentious. So maybe someday in the future we'll reestablish that. So I wish there was a little more explanation. I guess that's my main comment. I think this is a little bit where we don't really understand where this is going or why it's needed and what's going to happen, and will it affect any environmentally sensitive lands? Maybe somebody on the board will ask that question and we'll get an answer.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, questions for the commission. Commissioner Bra? No? Commissioner Penny? Commissioner Dawes? Commissioner Barbara? Rick?
No, sir.
Yeah. I get no's across the board. All right, then just to benefit him, I think this is an initiation, so right now all they're doing is they're going to explore the possibilities of what they want to define, and when they come back to us, I think that'll be the right time to ask those questions that you asked, what they're doing with the environmentally sensitive land, and hopefully the board that's here at that time can weigh in to your comments at that point. So let's go ahead and get a motion if possible.
I move to approve the initiation of the comprehensive plan amendments as presented.
Second.
Second.
Yeah, 2 seconds. You can pick which one.
Versa.
All right. Mr. Das. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on. Next item is the privately proposed text initiation for the Park West. Let's go ahead and get the applicant.
Good morning. Before I start my presentation, I have a request of the chair and the board. Could I get a little bit more time? I know it had the timer set for 15 minutes, but we have an architect that's come in from out of town, and I'd like to be able to have enough time for him to speak as well.
How much more time are you requesting?
Could we go from 15 to 20 minutes?
I think that should be reasonable request. That'll be fine.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Jennifer Morton with J. Morton Planning and Landscape Architecture, and I appreciate the opportunity to present the proposed text amendment for Park West on behalf of the property owner, Paul O'Keen, and his family. Mr. O'Keen is here today. He is a long-term Palm Beach County resident. He's been in the nursery business for almost 40 years. He's owned this land for 41 years. And we definitely appreciate being able to present the text amendments to you this morning. On behalf of the O'Keen family, the team and I are excited about the proposed project, that we can shed a vision for the possibility of future development at this location. Park West is a true mixed-use sustainable development that incorporates many of the elements of the originally adopted, envisioned master plan. We will demonstrate that Park West will bring balance to the Ag Reserve as it provides housing alternatives and creates a sense of place for those that live and work in West Delray. Also with me is Lauren McClellan, Director of Planning for J. Morton. Brian Kelly with Simmons & White. He's our civil and traffic engineer. Jonathan Parks is the architect, and he's with Solstice Planning and Architecture. And then many of you know Jim Knight of the Knight Group. The property is located both on the north and south sides of Atlantic Avenue, just west of the Florida Turnpike. We have approximately a half mile of frontage on the Florida Turnpike. And Atlantic Avenue, within the last 5 to 10 years, you've really seen some projects come forward. Before that, it was the Delray Marketplace was one of 2 TMDs along Atlantic Avenue. Since then, we've seen the development of the industrial node at 441 and Atlantic Avenue with West Atlantic Business Plaza. We've seen the adoption of the Reserve at Atlantic multifamily project. It's the first multifamily project in the Ag Reserve and was really the first one to provide for workforce housing in the Ag Reserve. We've seen the introduction of Legends Orthopedic Hospital, and then Joseph's Market, some additional retail, and self-storage. I think it's important that there are two roads, major east-west roads in the Ag Reserve. Atlantic Avenue is one of those two roads. It goes from the ocean to the Everglades. And you can see from this map, from the Turnpike East, Atlantic Avenue is completely built out, which makes this corner very strategic and important as far as future development. The proposed text amendment, staff gave a detailed description of the items that we're requesting in the text amendment, but I'd like to note that the text amendment, we came up with those text amendments based on a conceptual master plan that was prepared. This is a vision of a conceptual plan. It's by no means set in stone. We'll continue, if the board initiates these text amendments, to work with the community and further develop the plan. But the vision is truly a mixed-use project. On the south side, the vision is for luxury car cave type of light industrial use. It's a low traffic generating use and fits in nicely with Delray Lake Estates. To the north really is the mixed-use component of the project. We have some commercial retail. We have a main street as you enter the project. We're proposing a town center. One of the things that the residents of West Delray have asked for many, many years is a hotel. We're planning to incorporate a hotel as well as multifamily. Multifamily is allowed in the Ag Reserve now, and we are proposing approximately 4-story multifamily with structured parking. So this will be the introduction of structured parking. It's a much more sustainable way to design. And then you transition to the townhouses, which are surrounded by a passive park, which would incorporate walking trails and publicly accessible open space. So that was the nexus for the proposed text amendments. We're asking to be able to develop at this intersection a mixed-use project. We're asking for an exemption to the commercial cap. In the staff report, it was noted that this is the only location in all of Palm Beach County that has a cap. Because of the mixed-use nature of the project, we're requesting an exemption from this. We're requesting 20% preserve, a density of 12 units to the acre. Of those units, 25% would be workforce housing. We're proposing sustainable design principles be incorporated with the project and a 3.5D exemption. The Ag Reserve Master Plan was developed by consultants Dover Cole. It's referenced multiple times in the staff report. And I think it's important to note that the master plan and the consultants identified 2 locations for greater intensity. One is at the Boynton Beach Boulevard and the Turnpike, and the other is Atlantic Avenue and the Turnpike. In fact, these 2 locations were targeted for 330,000 square feet of industrial development and an additional 245,000 square feet of an office park use. So it's clear that the consultant identified these 2 nodes as where intensity should be located. The Board of County Commissioners has addressed the issue of industrial with the adoption of the commerce land use category that's now available in the Ag Reserve. As far as office parks go, in the 90s, office parks were very popular, and but over the years, you don't see too many office parks. I think that the mixed-use project has taken that place and is a much more sustainable way to develop. This master plan was not adopted by the board, but it is referenced and is back up in the staff report. Changes to the Ag Reserve policies. We acknowledge that we are proposing changes to the Ag Reserve policies, that this is a departure from the original Ag Reserve that was approved over 20 years ago. But there have been a series of changes that have been made, and those changes have made the Ag Reserve a better place, and they have been approved by the board to address issues that have come about with time, with the growth of Palm Beach County, and with the need to address sustainable design principles. Early on, 2 changes were made to the Ag Reserve. The first was the introduction of Bethesda West Hospital. This hospital came into the Ag Reserve, or was approved for the Ag Reserve in 2005. It was exempt from the commercial cap. It's located along State Road 7, and it was heavily lobbied for by many members of the neighborhood organization out there. The Solid Waste Authority is another departure from the Ag Reserve, that the Board of County Commissioners needed a place for the Solid Waste Authority to locate their transfer station. Therefore, the east side of State Road 7 was identified as for that location. The Ag Reserve was remained pretty consistent until 2016, and from 2016 on, 15 years later, after the original master plan, things have changed. Development patterns have changed. You don't see the same materials and the same design today as you did in the 1990s and the 1980s. Therefore, the county in 2016 allowed for the pre-existing commercial uses to be incorporated. They allowed for smaller commercial parcels. They increased the commercial cap. They added more locations for commercial, and they actually approved approximately 9 comp plan amendments. In 2020, they addressed the pre-existing landscape services that are operating on preserved parcels. They approved Lake Worth Drainage District canals for preserved parcels. They adopted Sunflower, and they adopted the Atlantic Avenue Medical Office. 2022, the Reserve at Atlantic project was approved, again introducing multifamily. Congregate living was approved. Essential housing was seen as a needed use for the Ag Reserve, as was the commerce land use category. And just recently, last year, the other major intersection, the Boynton and the Florida Turnpike, was approved for 3 developments. As I mentioned, the master plan always intended for there to be more intensity at the Florida Turnpike. This project has entitlements for 650,000 square feet of industrial, 1.9 million square feet for the CCRC, and 314 multifamily units. We believe that that's good design that was supported by the community and ultimately adopted by the board. We're requesting the similar opportunity at the Turnpike and Atlantic Avenue. Mixed-use development, that is a sustainable development pattern and choice for development. Many of the iconic developments that you see in Palm Beach County are mixed use. Where do people want to be? Where do they want to live? They want to live in mixed-use projects. I'd say that Meisner Park was maybe a little bit before its time, but now you just see how that has flourished. And I can't tell you how many meetings I've gone to where city and county staff talk about, we really like PGA Commons. We want some good quality projects to come through in Palm Beach County, and that's what we want to provide to you. You know, we still have the housing issue. You read about it every day. These are articles that were in the paper this week. The need to address the workforce housing crisis will only get addressed if developers are given the opportunity to build units. And I'm not saying anywhere, but this, the Turnpike and Atlantic Avenue is a strategic key location where it should be identified for additional increases in density. Next, I'm going to bring up Jonathan Parks with Solstice, and he's going to mention some of the sustainable principles we're going to be incorporating.
Good morning. My name's Jonathan Parks, and I'm not here to talk your ear off, so that extra 5 minutes, don't worry about it. I'm founder and principal of Solstice Planning and Architecture. Happy to be here. Honored to be the architect for the project. This is definitely a transformative project where the focus on mixed use can provide the highest level of sustainability possible. For us, sustainability, true sustainability, is about conservation. It's also about density, and it's also about good design. CPTED is a principle of design for crime prevention through environmental design, and TOD, standard principles, is up here. That's transit-oriented design or development. And both of those are underpinning projects where you want to have a safe place to be and sense of community. In general, people have a place where they live, place where they work, and we're really specialists at creating that third place. Years ago, 30 years ago exactly, I was measuring the Norton Gallery over in Palm Beach, and we took that as a transformative project to that part and really developed that from a 40,000 square foot museum to 120 to 190,000 square foot, and it really transformed that part of the town. Today we look at this intersection of the Turnpike as an opportunity to do that also. Hopefully I hit the right button here. Which one? Okay. Just go to the next one. Okay. Thank you. So our office is known for doing some of the most sustainable projects in the state of Florida. And actually also some of the highest level of sustainable projects in the United States. We actually, in Sarasota, where our office is based, our office accounts for over 25% of all the LEED Platinum projects in the area, and there's hundreds of architects, and it's really kind of our specialty. This project here just listed out some of the sustainable components that we're going to be incorporating. Just to highlight a few, obviously LEED certification, WaterSense, and then looking through all the individual vignettes within the project, and you'll see some renderings coming up. Jennifer talked about structured parking. Our office has the only LEED Gold certified parking garage in North America, including Canada, Mexico, and the United States. And we have just received the first ParkSmart, which is a higher level than LEED, for certification for parking garages. And so in Sarasota, the St. Armand's parking garage, which was designed for the city of Sarasota, was the first ParkSmart project in Florida. And it's quite a coup to be able to get that. And so we're pretty much the experts at doing structured parking in a LEED and sustainable way. In terms of the project, Jennifer, do you want to come back up? I don't know if we want to talk about this together, or do you want to just meet?
Sure, I'll
okay.
just run through it. So we just have a few vignettes that have been prepared just to kind of cast that vision for what this property could include and incorporate. The entrance to the development could, we're looking for the entrance off of Atlantic Avenue, focused on landscape and hardscape, and create a sense of place from the moment you turn into the community. And these are just some vignettes of what could be if the board initiates the text, if this board supports the text amendment, creating that sense of place, that Main Street, the lake with the residential wrapping around it, the townhouse component, all just trying to cast a vision for what could be if these text amendments are initiated.
One other comment is Park West really directly aligns with the PBC's managed growth tier system. And we were trying to accommodate future growth by requiring the use of compact forms and sustainable development. And we're really trying to chase kind of breezes and shade also. We're always talking about we're always talking about chasing shade. And so when you look at the underpinnings of this project, there's a lot of landscape and a lot of preserve areas too. It's not just about the architecture, it's about the sense of place.
And then just real quickly, we have had community meetings. We've reached out to our neighbors to the south. And Delray Lake Estates has given us a letter that they have no objection to the initiation of the text amendment. In fact, we have a meeting with them next Wednesday to further discuss the project. without the initiation, it doesn't give us the opportunity to continue to meet and develop the details of the project. So we have support from our neighbor to the south. We reached out to Delray Alliance. We've had multiple meetings with them and their ag committee. They have no objection to the text initiation. And I think this support letter is very important. I don't know how many of you know, but not only do we have FAU that has a medical program, you'll hear from the dean later on under the public comment, but we have hospitals that search out resident doctors every year. We talk about workforce housing applying to teachers and firefighters. Well, it's more than teachers and firefighters. Resident doctors' starting salary is $60,000. They qualify for workforce housing. When I'm trying to hire a planner or a landscape architect from the University of Florida or other colleges, their starting salary is workforce housing. The limiting factor to be able to get residents, to be able to get employees, to be able to staff our organizations is housing. That is our touch point, which is why you see the Economic Development Council, the Business Development Board, why we supported the $100 million bond. This is the first step in a multi-step process. We'll be back before you if the board initiates it in the fall. We do have an alternative text option that staff had identified in the staff report. And just in conclusion, there are many benefits to looking at further at this project. Their benefits are the mixed-use component. We're creating a sense of place. Mixed-use projects encourage walkability. They're known to reduce traffic. They're a more efficient use of the land. This project is providing a variety of housing which incorporates workforce housing. We have support from the various community groups. We, as I mentioned, this is the first step in a multi-step process, and we'll commit to continue to meet with the community residents as we go forward. Thank you.
Right on the button.
All right, thank you. Staff?
Okay, yes. Good afternoon. Stephanie Gregory with Planning Division. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself last time. So once we get the presentation up, thank you, Peter Gay. Okay, so the site is located within the Agricultural Reserve, which is a unique tier within the county, which has specific policy directives adopted by the board into the comprehensive plan following the creation of the master plan in the year 2000. The purpose of the tier is to preserve agriculture, natural lands, and open space. This is achieved by limiting non-residential uses, clustering development with preserve requirements, and by comprehensively planning traffic impacts and service delivery. The subject site is 61.19 acres and located on the north and south sides of Atlantic Avenue and west of the Florida Turnpike. The applicant is proposing a multiple land use project with commercial low, commerce, and 12 units per acre future land use designations. Specifically, this includes 734 residential units, 100,000 square feet of self-service storage, 150-room hotel, and 200,000 square feet of retail and office. However, in order to develop this plan, significant revisions to the comprehensive plan are required as it does not meet the current policies. So the item before you today is to consider the applicant's proposed text amendments for initiation. If initiated by the board, staff will accept the future land use amendment in May, and additional public hearings for the board's consideration to transmit the amendment would occur in late fall of this year. So the applicant is proposing revisions to fundamental policies in the plan related to commercial location, density limitations, minimum preserve requirements, and finally long-range traffic standards. So what I'm going to do is go into each of those policy considerations and then provide an assessment of the applicant's proposal. The first policy consideration is related to the applicant's proposed changes to commercial policies within the tier. One of the fundamental tenets of the Ag Reserve Master Plan was to focus the non-residential development internal to the tier at a central location for sustainable development and to ensure that the commercial development does not exceed demand and thereby serve as a draw from outside of the tier. This was achieved through several policies recommended by the master plan and adopted by the board, including a commercial cap, which is unique to the tier and is currently at 1,015,000 square feet. The board also limited the extent and location of mixed-use centers by requiring commercial uses to be located within a quarter mile of Boynton Beach Boulevard in Lyons and Atlantic in Lyons. So here you can see a visual representation of commercial future land use on Atlantic Avenue with Delray Marketplace at the northwest corner with Lyons Road, with several commercial sites on the southeast corner, which were adopted following the board's direction in 2016 to provide additional opportunity for neighborhood serving uses. And so then you can see all of these sites meet the commercial location criteria established by the board. The applicant, through the text amendment, is proposing to exempt approximately 300,000 square feet of commercial uses from the commercial cap and allowing a new third mixed-use location at the intersection of the Florida Turnpike and Atlantic Avenue. So the text amendment would increase the number of commercial nodes in the tier and allow for an interchange style of development at the edge of the tier. Staff's assessment is that this is inconsistent with the fundamental premise of limited, centrally located, neighborhood-serving commercial locations. In addition, there's a little over 10,000 square feet remaining in the commercial cap, and the applicant's proposed square footage greatly exceeds this amount and represents a 30% increase. Regarding the residential policy directives, the master planner recommended that the board maintain low density in the tier and allow the clustered development options at 1 unit per acre, which enabled the preservation of agricultural lands. Until recently, there were no density increases beyond 1 unit per acre in the tier. However, the board, in response to several multifamily proposals, adopted the higher density future land use designation of essential housing for sites located in proximity to the marketplaces for up to 8 units per acre with a 25% workforce housing requirement. This shows the sites eligible for essential housing located along Atlantic Avenue. And so you can see the northern portion of the site, which is known as Morningstar, is eligible. So currently, the site could apply for that land use designation at 8 units per acre for a total of 400 units. However, the applicant is requesting 12 units per acre with the ability to calculate density on the portion of the site south of Atlantic, also for a total of 734 units. So staff's assessment for the residential component of the request is that the proposed text is inconsistent with the maximum density just established by the board for multifamily in the tier. The applicant wants to exceed this limitation, which could result in existing unbuilt approvals or other uncommitted lands to seek a similar request. In addition, the applicant's proposed amendment also allows the density and intensity to be calculated over the entire site, which is separated by Atlantic Avenue. The third policy directive affected by this amendment is in regards to the preserve requirement, which is the foundational policy of the Ag Reserve tier, established to foster the preservation of agriculture, natural lands, and open space. And this is achieved through 3 methods: the bond referendum, ownership by governmental entities, and through preserve requirements for new developments in the tier. So this chart demonstrates the preserve requirements for commerce, essential housing, and commercial future land use designations. To date, the board has maintained the 60% preserve requirement for all residential and commercial properties greater than 16 acres in size. However, the applicant is proposing a 20% requirement with the ability to provide all of the required drainage within the preserve area instead of in the development area. So staff's assessment is that the applicant is providing a significantly reduced preserve area, and by allowing the required drainage within the preserve area, further reduces the amount of land that could be provided for typical preserve uses such as passive parks, agriculture, and community gardens. And so then the reduction of the preserve area is not consistent with the stated objective of the tier, which is to preserve agriculture. And then last but certainly not least is the long-range traffic policy consideration. Policy 3.5D of the comprehensive plan ensures that land use amendments do not negatively impact the long-range transportation network. The applicant is proposing to exempt the project from this policy as the preliminary traffic study shows that it would reduce in 2 roadway failures. The first is on Atlantic from Hagen Ranch Road to Jog, and then the second failure would be on State Road 7 from Flavor Pick Road to Winter Circle. Therefore, this development plan is inconsistent with Policy 35D and would impact existing and long-range traffic. Staff is recommending to not initiate, as the amendment would represent a major departure from most of the fundamental policy concepts directed by the board and adopted into the comprehensive plan. In terms of processing this request, we also wanted to acknowledge that the development scenario by the applicant could be done elsewhere in the urban-suburban tier, or potentially at this location with a tier change for the northern portion of the site, as the proposed density and land uses are available in that tier. The proposed density could be accompanied by the purchase of transfer development rights and by utilizing workforce housing bonus program to achieve the desired unit count. However, the 3.5D exemption would still be needed. And so by providing this information, we are not indicating support of a tier change, but rather providing it as information for transparency purposes. So this concludes my presentation.
Thank you. All right, so we do have a lot of public comments. Rick will be calling everybody up. Because there's a lot, he'll probably say 2 names initially and then 1 name as each finishes. So if one could use each of the podiums accordingly. We'll be limiting the time to 3 minutes per person speaking for the efficiency of the process. Please state your name and address when you come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. To the first podium, Erwin Cohen, please. And if you'd like to prepare for the second podium, Robert Hartzell. After Mr. Cohen's concluded.
Mr. Chairman and all the planning commissioners, good morning. My name is Erwin Cohen. I live at 8850 Golden Mountain Circle, Boynton Beach, Florida, in the unincorporated portion of Palm Beach County, and I'm a resident of the Agricultural Reserve. I am also the incoming second vice president of COBRA, the Coalition of Boynton West Residential Associations, and shall speak to you this morning on behalf of COBRA. Each of you should have received a letter from COBRA's current president, Steve Wallace, which I would like to read into the record. Commissioners, COBRA agrees with the planning staff recommendation to deny initiation of the proposed text amendment, Park West. We respectfully quote from this report. The Agricultural Reserve Tier's objective is to preserve the farmland and wetlands of the tier, to maintain agricultural, environmentally sensitive lands, water resources, and open space. This is accomplished through primarily low-density development patterns and limited commercial development for the preservation of agriculture, water management, open space, or other similar uses. This request proposes changes to the comprehensive plan that represent major departures from most of the fundamental policy concepts directed by our Board of County Commissioners and adopted into the comprehensive plan. The proposed location at the edge of the tier and at a turnpike interchange is inconsistent with policies requiring centrally located neighborhoods serving commercial locations and exceeds the commercial cap, as stated earlier. In addition, the applicant's request is beyond the maximum density just established by the board through essential housing, with a significantly reduced preserve requirement. Finally, the amendment will impact existing and long-range traffic, as the applicant is proposing an exemption from FLUE policy 3.5D. This is the conclusion of my quote from staff. Further, COBRA strongly disagrees with the suggestion that the applicant pursue a tier change to urban-suburban. The negative impacts of exceeding the commercial cap, extreme density, and traffic in that location would remain the same regardless of what the tier is called. COBRA's member communities along Lyons Road would be adversely affected, as would the surrounding communities of the Ag Reserve. We respectfully request that you deny initiation of Park West. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Hartzell now. And
Good morning.
Drew Martin, if you'd like to come to the other podium, please. Sir.
These are hard acts to be sandwiched in. Robert Hartzell, 61 Northeast 1st Street, Pompano Beach, Florida. I'm an attorney, and I represent Irish Acres of Florida, LLC. Irish Acres address is 14375 Starkey Road, which is adjacent to the project site in the agricultural reserve. Irish Acres is a 60-acre premier horse boarding farm and equestrian center. On page 3 of the county staff report, you can see that Irish Acres is the property to the northwest of the subject site, immediately adjacent. They share the same entranceway, Starkey Road. Irish Acres has invested hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, creating a state-of-the-art horse boarding and riding facility, including refurbished barns, trails, pasture, stalls, grass tracks, dressage area, jumps, and event space. Exactly the type of use that is contemplated in the agricultural reserve and protected by the comprehensive plan. The agricultural reserve under objective 1.5 in the future land use element, where it commands the county to limit uses to agriculture and conservation within the residential development restricted to low densities, non-residential development limited to uses serving the needs of farm workers and residents of the tier. You saw a lot of nice pictures of what could be placed in Boca Raton, what could be replaced in downtown Palm Beach County. That same road will be littered daily with horse trailers, hay, grain, feed, and horseback riders going up and down. I don't see that as compatible with that use of agriculture, which is protected under your comp plan. The project, as determined by your staff, is in direct contravention of the policy objective 3.5 or 1.5. And to quote the planners, your county planners, this request proposes changes to the comprehensive plan that represent major departures from most of the fundamental policy concepts directed by the Board of County Commissioners. Irish Acres relies on the protections of the agricultural reserve for its ongoing agricultural business and respectfully requests this commission deny initiation and the proposed amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We could have Ms. Melissa McKeon come to the other podium. And Mr. Martin, sir.
Drew Martin, on behalf of the Lux Hedge Group of the Sierra Club, I say immediately that we support staff recommendation to deny. There's absolutely nothing about this project that would benefit anyone who is currently living in the ag reserve. It's just another attempt to make an end run around the good planning that has been done, which is supposed to preserve the ag reserve. Not only that, this puts 2 roads out of compliance, which means that you're going to have serious traffic problems if you approve this. If you take your role seriously as a planning board, you will vote to deny. Hopefully I know there are some of you that are very willing to deny because you can see the faults in things that come before you. And, I'd say you approve a lot, so it's not difficult for you to say no. This is going to really harm the ag reserve. You're basically, first of all, no one wants more commercial. There's commercial in Wellington, there's commercial in Boynton, there's commercial in Atlantic, there's commercial in Boca. And then you look at the pictures and they say they want to have shade, and it's all palm trees. There was no shade trees in any of those pictures. I didn't see a picture of a cypress tree. Maybe they have plans for a cypress tree. I thought the woman in the little pink outfit was kind of interesting, something right out of the 1950s. I haven't seen anyone look like that who's going to walk around the ag reserve. She would probably have to go to have cardiac arrest walking around in that outfit trying to walk and get groceries or something. There already are many facilities that are already there. As you can see, Cobra opposes this. You can see the development that the lawyer, Robert Hartzell, opposes this. Now there are some people who don't care about the Ag Reserve, and they're going to get up here. They're I'm sure they're decent people. Ms. McEwen's already gotten her property approved. You know, I don't know what her position is on this, so I'll let her speak for herself. I know Mr. Knight makes his money off, you know, real estate. That's fine. That's an acceptable thing to do. But the reality is the citizens are the ones you represent, and they are not benefited. Certain landowners will be benefited, but what are the people going to do when they can't get out of their development to get to a doctor because there is so much traffic? And by the way, we did oppose the hospital, and we don't think you need to do this as workforce housing for hospital workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. McEwen, and Dr. Curtis Whitehair to the other podium, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Melissa McEwen, 1270 Southeast 14th Court, Deerfield. It is true, my name is Melissa, and I'm a previous landowner within the Ag Reserve. My perspective here is the developer in this case is the property owner, which you may or may not know. He's owned the property for a number of years, and as a community, as a property owners in the area, we've been advocating for these somewhat smaller parcels to have opportunities to do something with their land. You know, GL Homes has come in and built a number of beautiful communities and really changed the area for farmers and for people that had nurseries out there. So the property owner has been working with commissioners and the community to see what needs are. And, you know, they have the support of Delray Alliance, which is the alliance of the area, to continue this conversation. Mr. O'Keen, who's the property owner, has hired, you know, the best architects to develop a project that would be proud to have in the community where people could live, work, and play. I just would like to ask that you initiate this to continue the conversation. It is an ideal location. It's a major corridor on Atlantic Ave and the Turnpike. There is a need for a hotel in the area. This is probably the most ideal location where you can have a place for that. And would just like to ask for your support and to let this conversation continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, and Jim Knight to the other podium, please. Mr. Whitehair?
Yes,
Dr.
hi.
Whitehair.
I'm Curtis Whitehair, MD. I reside at 9265 Seahorse Bay Drive, Boynton Beach, Florida. And my horse is stabled at Delray Equestrian Center, 1 mile from the proposed project. But I come today as the current dean of the Charles E. Schmidt College of Medicine at Florida Atlantic University. We have 177 resident physicians currently in our consortium, which contains Boca Raton Regional Hospital, West Boca Hospital, Delray Medical Center, Bethesda East and West Hospitals, St. Mary's, and now Palm Beach Gardens and Good Samaritan. Our 177 residents' salaries range from $56,000 to $76,000. These are the physicians that are in the hospitals. At night in the ICUs, they are taking the trauma calls at the 2 level 1 trauma centers, Delray Medical Center being one of them, and taking care of the community as these young physicians are. Luckily, because the state of Florida has currently 2 licensed physicians over the age of 60 for every 1 licensed physician under the age of 40. We are at a time where we have to increase the workforce or we will run out of physicians. Delray Medical Center has just received the ability to become a statutory teaching hospital. They will increase by 150 residents over the next 7 years in 13 programs. The biggest problem we have with our resident physicians right now is housing. I have 3 male emergency medicine doctors in our community that live together in a one-bedroom apartment. So anything that is going to increase workforce housing, we have to support. We need that housing. And with the addition of these physicians, I really don't know where I'm going to put them to live. And it's very, very difficult. So we're in support of anything that will help create workforce housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Knight, and I can have Paul O'Keen to the other podium, please. Mr. Knight.
Chairman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. My address is 740 Havana Drive, Boca Raton. I am a native, I'm a resident, and I am a citizen of Palm Beach County in the state of Florida and United States for that matter. Can you please put up the slide number 14 from the applicant's presentation, please? It's the one that shows the intersection of Boynton Boulevard and the Turnpike. Okay, so at this site right here, you've got 180 acres. You have 47 acres on the north side, which is BC Commerce Center. You have 93 acres on the south side, which is Erickson. And you have Logan property, which is another 39 plus acres. They are totaling 180 acres. Staff and Cobra supported this project, which is abutting the Turnpike at Boynton Beach Boulevard. Directly across the street, you have two schools. You also have Canyon District Park. Those are a lot of amenities and so forth that the neighbors, the surrounding neighborhood, wanted to have these additional amenities out here, and I believe that's why staff and the neighborhood supported it. Can you go to the next slide, please? Sorry. Never used this before, so the top button? Thank you. I've never done a staff presentation or any kind of presentation before. So, actually, don't think I got it there. Okay, so here we are at the Turnpike and Atlantic Avenue. And at this intersection here, right abutting the Turnpike, no different. We're talking about 61 acres, or a third of the 180 acres at Boynton and the Turnpike. At this property here, they are proposing a greater density than what's approved in the essential housing right now, but that also brings additional workforce housing units. We all know that the Palm Beach County electorate supported, not unanimously, but I think it was well over 60%, the $200 million bond issue to create workforce housing. Whether it's created here or somewhere else, it's needed. In the 22,000 acres, 34 square miles, which is known as the Agricultural Reserve, there's a total of 160 acres, or less than 1%, that will have workforce housing. That's it. So you're talking 381 workforce housing units that are desperately needed, that are on the way. Again, the $200 million bond issue was pushed by the voters to make this happen. Delray Marketplace, which is right up the street. Am I done?
Have to limit it to 3 minutes.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yep. Can I just say I respectfully request that you at least initiate this and let's see what happens to bring it forward. Thank you.
Okay. If we could have Maria Pisano Balatovis to the other podium, and Mr. O'Keen, if you'd like to speak.
Good morning. My name's Paul O'Keen. I thought it might be a good idea to put a face to the name. Morningstar Nursery is the nursery that I started. I acquired the site 41 years ago, built my nursery there.
Can you speak a little closer to the mic?
Certainly.
There you go.
Sorry. Built my nursery there 41 years ago. And it was a great time to be in the business, great time to be in the industry. I had the honor of being in an industry with the likes of Bill Mazzoni and Tim Malinkas and Logan's and the Mulvilles and many others. It was a wonderful time being in the industry.
You're not speaking into the mic, if you could, please.
Sorry. Anyway, it was a great time. The nursery business was wonderful. I spent 30 some odd years in it. A number of things happened, a number of events starting in the early 2000s. There was an eminent domain taking at the Turnpike and Atlantic. Approximately 35% of our production was taken at that time. Francis 04, Wilma 05, the consolidation of the industry. A number of things happened. For me, it was time to move on and spend more time with my family. That's my history in the nursery industry. 2 years ago, my adult children and myself decided to develop the site ourselves. I know it's atypical for anyone coming up here to propose a development who is actually a grower who's been doing this for a long time, but I felt it was time. So we decided to look back at a project that was brought forward here 7 years ago that was actually approved by the Planning Commission. It was a mixed-use project, similar to what we're proposing, different but nevertheless same components: multifamily, commercial, hotel, and it just made sense. There's a housing crisis right now. We're trying to address it with our essential housing. We are embracing the workforce housing. We're excited about the idea and prospects of dedicating our essential workforce housing to medical residents, fellows. I think it's a great opportunity.
Sorry, sir. It's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you. If we could have Linda Smith to the podium, and Maria, if you'd like to address.
Good morning. Maria Pisano. I reside in Jupiter, Florida. I'm speaking in opposition to the initiation of the text amendment request named Park West. I'm pretty new to all of this. I took the time to read through this, and as a normal, everyday person, it definitely opened my eyes as to why people like myself are not able to come and really share our opposition, because this is a really complicated matter. Or just to read through it is difficult to understand. But one thing that became clear to me is that every time there has been a change made to the comprehensive master plan, it has led to a request for more changes. And that is exactly what we're seeing here again. The commissioner there, she cited something about a vicious cycle in a prior discussion, and that is kind of what I see here, that we approve this and then we are going to have to look into more changes into the agricultural reserve, for example, all changes that are not benefiting the environment, but are rather leading to less green and undeveloped areas and the diminishment of the agricultural reserve. Just two more things regarding the presentation by the landscape architecture, and just like Drew, I was amazed to see palm trees as a sustainability shade tree. I'm a member of the Native Plant Society. We need to look into more canopy trees that really are native to Florida. And another point, I hear a lot in all of these meetings about workforce housing. I wonder I know what the amount is, but what about those people that are working, who are cashiers, who are food service workers, who are certified nursing assistants, etc. How much money do those people make? The average hourly salary, I think that was fought for is about $15 an hour, and I just took out my calculator. That equates to about $31,200 a year. Not including taxes, of course, deductions. How many people are going to be able to afford to live in the workforce housing that is being built?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, and Gail Ladd to the other podium, if you'd like to speak, and Linda Smith, please.
Linda Smith, Jupiter, Florida, current Executive Committee Chair of the Sierra Club, representing over 5,000 members and supporters in our area. I am sorry the tenderly reserved, privately proposed comprehensive plan text amendment is particularly outrageous to me. There can be no justification for a third commercial mixed-use intersection until the two existing ones are built out to capacity. And even then, the staff indicates that this location is wrong. Where this is being located is inconsistent with the policy of being centrally located to neighborhoods serving the commercial locations. And it exceeds the commercial cap. What could possibly be the justification? They are also asking for a way more density, 12 units per acre, 734 multifamily units on 61 acres. I'll get back to that. Yes, they're going to be adding some workforce housing. Yes, we need that. Only 20% of preserved land? What? Why? How could that be good for the community, whether it's the community there or the surrounding community? I don't think you have anyone coming to you saying, we want to build more buildings and have more concrete, less trees, and less bushes. That's just not what the public comes to you and asks for. Water retention is not a preserve that is required because of the development. And they want to exempt themselves from long-range traffic requirements. I bet people are just beating down your door asking for more congestion and more accidents on our roadways. Staff has made a suggestion of an alternate to have the developer ask for a tier change. To that, I'm afraid I also say no. If you allow the tier change, now the line is here. The next logical place for this to end, where is it going to end? That was brought up before. Where is this going to end if you build such density and intensity on that site? What's going to happen to the rest of the Ag Reserve, all those green plots that we see on all the presentations, until it reaches the Loxahatchee Reserve? I don't know where it's going to end. And a side note, I have time. My name is Linda Smith. I'm with the Sierra Club. I'm a retired architect. I was the 24th LEED certified professional in the state of Florida years and years ago. I'm retired now. But I would love to talk to you folks about a 60-acre site in Mangonia Park directly adjacent to Tri-Rail and Palmtran Hub near St. Mary's Hospital and I-95 that is just screaming out for development. It's 60 acres. Take that plan, massage it, and put it there. That's where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And Ms. Ladd?
Yes. Good morning. I'm Gail Ladd, 18195 Jupiter Landings Drive in Jupiter. I am Vice Chair of the Conservation Committee of the Loxahatchee Sierra Club Loxahatchee Group. I'm going to repeat a lot of what you've heard already. I apologize, but sometimes when you hear it 3 times, it really sinks in. So before allowing this proposed amendment, I ask who benefits. In this case, I believe the agricultural reserve does not. It will have a devastating effect on the agricultural reserve. It will open the door for more changes in the reserve by proposing the new zoning category, increasing commercial square footage, reducing preserve requirements, and it is exempt from long-range traffic requirements. I thought traffic issues have always been important to consider before proposals are approved. If the argument for change is that change has been approved, the agricultural reserve will not survive. Change for the sake of change or because changes happened before is not a good reason. Maybe those changes never should have been approved, but that's in the past. This project has its benefits. Of course, workforce housing. I think Linda's idea is a really good one. Mangonia Park needs workforce housing, perhaps. Maybe we can find a better place. This proposal is beautiful, but not here. Please, I ask that the comprehensive plan not be amended and that you deny this text initiation as your staff has recommended. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last set of comment cards from the public.
All right. Thanks, Rick. We also have 3 letters that are now on record, correct? Perfect. So now I will switch to the Commission for questions. You want me to break order? I think everybody probably has questions.
Yeah, great questions. I have a few questions as well.
Yeah, let's just go in order.
Okay.
That'll be easier. Commissioner Searle?
Thank you. Yeah, the traffic over there is already a little nutty. As far as questions go, I don't really have any questions, and I'm sure my fellow commissioners will go ahead and ask some questions. But that doesn't seem consistent with what's over there, and right now I'm trying to figure out why. As most of you alluded to, what would be the benefit to the citizens other than the workforce housing? Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Stenberg? Commissioner Stopek?
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions for the developer. Might be a bit premature, maybe you don't have the information, but with regards to the workforce housing, how many units are we anticipating in there?
25% of the 700. Do you have that number, Stephanie? Can you? She'll get it for you.
That would round up to 184 units.
So approximately 180, let's call it 184 units, 2 3-bedroom type units, townhouses, I'm sure we're talking about here.
Multifamily apartments.
Ballpark pricing starting at?
The county has the structure of what the required pricing would be for its low, very low, moderate.
Okay.
So across those categories,
Okay.
the 4 categories.
All right, so about 185 units. Let's go. Now, with regards to the hotel, how large of a hotel was being planned on that site?
Approximately 150 key hotel.
Okay. Has the hotel vendor been selected or approached at this point?
There have been discussions with a couple of vendors about the hotel. So yes, none secured, but that is envisioned. So
I would hope, yeah. Okay, and then obviously, the 800-pound gorilla, the traffic. The primary ingress and egress is going to be on Atlantic, just west of the Turnpike.
yes, we're proposed to have a right in, right out on Atlantic. Part of the traffic responses, we're proposing to align Starkey and Persimmon Road so that there could be a traffic light at that location. It actually, right now, it's not a very safe situation. There's been a desire for many, many years to align that intersection so that those 2 roads can align. And if you go back to, if you can pull up our
But for all
master-
practical purposes, the only ingress and egress from this whole entire development is going to be off of Atlantic.
Well, that is our primary ingress and egress. We will have access off of Starkey. We'll dedicate right away for the widening of Starkey and have additional access points on Starkey. We're proposed to have a light at that intersection. Yeah, there you go. So you can see as part of the proposed project, the alignment of Starkey and Persimmons is a key part of the overall project, which would then provide for a light. I've spoken with a couple of the farmers that live north on Stark, or don't live, but they farm north on Starkey, and it's very difficult for their tractor trailers. They have to turn right and either try and go all the way around up to Boynton or go down south to Glades to get on the turnpike because they cannot turn left at that intersection.
No, I get all that, but just at the end of the day, it's all going to dump on Atlantic.
Atlantic Avenue is our primary access point, whether it's from Starkey or from the entrance to the project, correct. There are roadway improvements planned for Atlantic Avenue. We have a slide that identifies all of those improvements if you'd like to see them. Like the widening from Lyons to 441 is the right-of-way has been acquired and it's on the plan for actually 2024. There are other roadway improvements planned for Atlantic. The district commissioner is very involved in the traffic situation here, so that we know the importance of that.
No, I understand what you're saying, but it's almost counterintuitive. The widening from Lyons to 441 is wonderful, but that's not your flow. Your agricultural flow is looking for access to the turnpike, so it's kind of moot on the western development.
There actually, if I can go, if Brian Kelly can come up, we've got the roadway improvements planned for. There you go.
Go over it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try to be real quick. For the record, Brian Kelly, traffic engineer with Simmons and White. So yes, there's a number of improvements proposed in this area. And to your point, the widening on Atlantic Avenue from State Road 7 to Lyons, that's going from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. As part of that project as well, it's really an extension of it, where we're directly located from Lyons to the turnpike is also going to be widened from existing 4 lanes now to 6 lanes, and that's actually been moved up on the schedule by DOT, which is great because it's a needed improvement. And then eventually as well, it's also on the FDOT's widening program is from the turnpike to Jog Road to 6 lanes, and I know that's been certainly a desired and requested improvement for quite a long time. So all these are part of either the Palm Beach County or the FDOT 5-year improvements. Atlantic Avenue is a DOT road, so those are DOT improvements, and you can kind of look at the list. I'm happy to read through them. Obviously, there's some Lyons Road widening going on now. There's some future ones north of Atlantic as well.
Yeah. No, and I see that, and I respect that, but this is, again, another situation where the cart's before the horse. Okay. All right. I don't want to take up any more of my fellow commissioners' time, but thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Commissioner Roth.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know where to begin. I'll try to talk fast because I won't be as gracious as Mr. Stopek. I have quite a bit to say. Community organizations, COBRA being only one of them, want to advocate for their residents. COBRA has residents along Lyons Road and Lyons Road South in particular, and those people use Atlantic. For that reason, I very specifically have been to just about, Mo can attest to that, just about every hearing, meeting, community presentation that Mayor Sachs has had concerning traffic. The big word here is proposed. The dates that you see are proposed. We have heard this over and over again. I am not finding fault. I am just stating reality. Cart before the horse is putting it mildly. I'm not upset about traffic. Community organizations advocate for what their communities need. And we as a planning commission should understand and reflect that. For that reason, we don't always take a purist position in terms of environmental concerns as our good friends in the Sierra Club might do or the Everglades Law Center. So therefore, we may say needed in that area is a hospital, as a community organization did years ago, and you make adjustments to the ag reserve. We may agree with the county's need and understand that essential housing, workforce housing, is called essential housing in the Ag Reserve, that we can apply that usage for the good of the area. Community organizations will make that concession. We might agree that there are some light commercial uses needed. Again, this may diverge from some of our environmental friends, but we work with the county and we work to advocate for what our residents say. This is beyond a bridge too far. This is a total and complete slap in the face to the concept of planning as it has been done, as it's presently being done, and I certainly hope there are no changes in the future to change the good record that Palm Beach County has established in the area of planning. I've been honored to serve on this commission for just about 6 years. The thing that jumped out at me, I was gratified to see all the reasons staff denies initiation. And by the way, when letters are held up in quotes from other associations or from individuals or from communities that say they're in favor of this, let's understand they're in favor of initiating so supposedly to have a further discussion. If somebody tells me they're going to put essential housing on that site, I'm going to say sure, just as I did for the site on Boynton Beach Boulevard. It makes sense there. If somebody tells me you need some light commercial use there, I'm going to say, okay, let's talk about it. Even if somebody says, let's see if we can accommodate a hotel of some sort to serve the western communities of Boynton and Delray, I'll say, let's talk about it. But this project, with this exclusion of the commercial cap, with this intrusion on an already dangerous traffic situation, absolutely not. What mystified me, I have to say, because I believe staff understands my great respect for what they do, was this insertion at the end about, well, maybe if you want to seek a tier change. Really? I'm so glad Ms. Smith held up the map. Where does that tier change end? There's an expression about putting lipstick on a pig. It applies here. Whatever you call those acres just west of the turnpike, whether you call it urban, suburban, or whether you call it ag reserve, and it is ag reserve, but were you to change the name of it, it still has the same negative impact and all the effects on the residents which we advocate for. I don't care what tier it's in, it's the wrong location. I will strongly oppose initiation.
All right, Commissioner Dust.
I don't have any questions. I would just like to thank Commissioner Stopek for his questions, which I thought were very insightful, and thank you to my fellow commissioners for their comments as well.
Commissioner Pompey.
I have one question for the applicant. Jennifer, if you would, please. This is a really easy question, but you may need to bring up your compatriot there. I just need a general clarification. What is tiered parking, and how is that environmentally friendly?
Structured parking.
You mean structured parking?
Well, you called it tiered parking as you had that award for parking design, parking garage design.
Yes, so we have two parking garages that we got awards for. One is a LEED Gold certified parking garage, and it's the only certified garage in North America with that level of accomplishment. And the other higher level is ParkSmart. And so we also have the only, I think also the first ParkSmart certification of a parking garage. So taking and placing parking sort of like pouring water on a table and just letting it spread out everywhere is not sustainable. So the common wisdom today is to do structured parking where not only the building itself, you can actually do things with the concrete mix and embed fly ash into that. And there's a lot of things that are environmentally positive with let's call it a poured in place or a precast structured parking garage. Most of the garages provide shade. Most of the garages get rid of heat island effect. Just like if you have a parking lot and you put trees at the end caps and try to get, kind of shade on the trees, and everyone wants to park under those everyone's kind of chasing shade in Florida. So structured parking, if it's 1 or 2 or 3 levels, obviously from the ground all the way up to the roof, you have shaded parking. And there's a ton of benefits with structured parking.
I get it. I just thought it was some new kind of, I don't know what kind of tiers we're talking about, but I appreciate that.
Okay.
I understand. Thank
Sure.
you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. So, and then a couple of clarifications from staff. So, the question that I have is that the applicant's presentation was correct in one thing, which was that the movement is now toward mixed-use development. Most of the cities have adopted their zoning codes to be able to apply mixed use of all of the formerly commercial only or formerly residential only properties. So what is in the code, in the county code today, that allows that kind of mixed use compatibility that would put workforce housing, residential housing, office, hotel? What do we have available?
So for the comp plan, we have what is called the multiple land use designation, and that allows both a residential designation and a non-residential designation, typically commercial, to coexist on a site where you can utilize both the density and intensity of a project, and then you could do a mixed-use, multiple-use project.
So any other piece of land, whether or not it's in the agricultural tier, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the rest of the county-owned land. There's not a lot of it that can be used as a mixed-use development.
Right, so they would have to have both of those designations. They would need a commercial designation and an underlying residential designation to develop.
So they're going to be back here to apply for a variance or whatever. Okay, all right, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. And then one final thing, as I think Commissioner Roth pointed out, this is just to initiate the text amendment, correct? We're not doing anything. We're not saying, yes, you're going to develop this. We're just saying, yes, now let's look into it a little bit more so that we understand what actually is being proposed. Is that correct?
Yes, so if the board initiates, that allows us to accept the applicant's future land use application. And then we would do a further analysis in a staff report and bring it back to you, the Planning Commission, in late fall. And then the board would likely see it in November based on the schedule of the amendment round that it's in.
And probably be 2025 by the time it really gets
2025 for adoption, for sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Goes that far.
Commissioner Braz?
Mr. Chairman, is this comments or is this questions?
It was supposed to be questions, but I mean, we gave the latitude to do the comments too, because Commissioner Roth had a couple of comments that came into there. So I think at this point, just do the questions. If there's some comments in there, you could kind of put it in there. But ideally, this was supposed to be questions. We're supposed to have motion afterwards and comments after motion. That's technically our process. So
would you like me to wait or would you like me to speak?
If you have questions, I would love for you to ask the questions.
I have no questions.
And you can give your comments, I think, after we get the motion out. So, all right. So, no questions. For myself, I think the questions have been answered. Just one more question, and I think it's more of a clarification. If this is to staff, if the applicant were to just try to develop the project on the ag reserve currently the way it sits, they are allowed to develop 8 units per acre?
So there would be a couple of options for this. They could do essential housing, 8 units per acre. They could do commerce if they could get access onto Atlantic Avenue. And they could potentially do CLR designation like on the corner of Boynton and the Turnpike with some text changes.
Okay.
But commercial would not be allowed without the changes that they're asking for today.
And they can also split up the 2 lots and do different things for both, correct?
Yeah, so they could do, like commerce on the south side and resident essential housing on the north. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right. Commissioner Roth now actually has a question.
I do. My apologies. I do actually have a question. To this issue of denying staff's recommendation to deny initiation. Everybody may think, well, okay, let's just initiate and then we'll have more discussion. Why does staff recommend denial? I see all the list of reasons. Why on everything doesn't staff just say, well, let's initiate it and then we'll talk about it again later? Could you make that distinction, please, Ms. Gregory?
Sure. So, for this one, there's fundamental policy changes that are being recommended to be changed. So, based on all of the, the adoption of the master plan with the changes to the comprehensive plan, we follow what the board has directed in those terms. So it's a pretty substantial change in our view, which is why we're not recommending to initiate. Which is why we're recommending to not initiate.
Yeah. If I may piggyback on Stephanie's comments as well, I think staff believes there's other potential paths forward. For example, the housing discussion was brought up on multiple occasions. So the essential housing future land use designation is a real option that currently exists for this parcel, which was identified in Stephanie's presentation earlier. Additionally, I also want to touch on the tier change conversation just because it was brought up multiple times as well. So it was mentioned in the staff report, not to say that staff was supporting that option, but it seemed to be more accurate as far as what the proposal truly was and how it would be couched within the existing policy language. The reality is it's deviating significantly from the ag reserve tier policy language. However, if it were to be in the urban suburban tier, it's kind of checking a lot of those boxes. So to Commissioner Roth's comment, it doesn't change the location geographically. However, from a policy perspective, that's why staff thought it was important to mention in the staff report. And it also is a possible path forward that the applicant could choose to take in the future or propose to take in the future. So we want to have that conversation now and not have a surprise conversation in the back end. So.
May I follow up? Has staff ever made such a suggestion to an applicant about a tier change before?
Yeah, so when we do pre-apps, we explore all alternatives. We look at the comp plan, what's available, and we discuss the pros and cons of each, and then obviously it's up to the applicant to pursue whichever path they prefer. And you'll see with our next application for Rawlings, we did an analysis of if that did a tier change, what would that look like in terms of units. So like Jeff mentioned, it was intended to just be transparent about the possibilities that could occur. So we just wanted to provide that information so that you all understood a complete picture of the application.
All right. If we if there's no more questions, if somebody wants to put a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Commissioner Sopik has a motion.
Yeah, I would move to deny or to accept staff's recommendation to deny initiation of the text amendment at this point.
Second.
Second. No.
So we got a first and second. Now we can go to discussion. All right. How about Commissioner Stenberg?
I appreciate what Stephanie had to say about fundamental policy changes. And, I think the Ag Reserve was created for a purpose. And I certainly understand that the workforce housing referendum was created for a purpose. But this, to reflect what Commissioner Roth said about the fact that it's a bridge too far, I think it is a bridge too far. I agree with you on that. So I plan to vote no on this.
Commissioner Sopik?
Yes, for me, it's a bit of a tough one because honestly, I like the project. I like the look of the project. I like the vibe of the project. I think it's a nice concept. I also have a very soft spot for resident housing, having gone down that road many, many years ago myself, and friends that have kids that are coming through their residencies and fellowship programs now. So I truly struggle with that. I just don't know how the hell you can shoehorn this project into that spot. Living in Delray, I traverse that area on a fairly regular basis, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare on a good day, and I mean, even coming here this morning, because I live in Delray, I live at Jog and Linton, basically, and I never know if it's going to take me 30 minutes to get here or an hour to get here between the traffic on Atlantic and the traffic on the Turnpike. So, as much as I would love to vote yes on this, I just can't. There's too many. We've had close calls in the past on this board with maybe something's just sort of on the edge here. Let's look it forward. Maybe there's one obstacle to overcome. You got a half a dozen obstacles to overcome on this one. So unfortunately, I just think this one needs to go back to the drawing board. So unfortunately, as much as I like it and I would love to support it, in its present form, I cannot.
Commissioner Roth? Okay. Commissioner Das?
Yeah, this was a tough one for me because I really, really do like this project. And I also sympathize greatly with resident housing. I have 3 members of my family that went through residency. And, unfortunately, when my mom was in med school, one of the residents, when they were driving home, because they work those crazy 16-hour shifts, he was so tired he drove into a ditch and died. So I sympathize greatly, and I do think we need housing close to our hospitals. I sympathize greatly, but I just can't. There's some other concerns I have with this that just can't be overlooked when you look at the cumulative plan. So and the location and everything. So. But thank you for your time, and I have no further comment.
Commissioner Pompey? Commissioner Braz? The floor is yours.
Thank you. This is just so wrong on so many levels. First of all, the million square feet commercial cap. That was done so that we didn't have commercial on every corner and running commercial along every avenue in the Ag Reserve. The million square foot commercial cap was there for a reason. We had to increase it to 1.1 million because there were commercial uses that were already there that needed to be grandfathered in, such as Three Amigos on Boynton Beach Boulevard. So we just didn't, so to ask to be taken out of the commercial cap is just really? The next thing is for you to go from 40% preserve area to 20% preserve area. Really? I mean, why? We have been swallowing so much by going a little bit further and a little bit further, but to go from 40% to 20% is unheard of. When Cobra supported the 8 units to the acre regarding essential housing, and this board also approved it, it was like bad sex with your husband. But for you to come forward now and just blatantly say, now we want 12 units to the acre, what are we supposed to do with that? Absolutely ridiculous. Then for you to ask to be excused from the traffic analysis for the future, just because, I don't know, how do you even come up with requests like that? Just exempt me from everything. I don't understand how you could even compare these properties, Mr. Knight, with what went on Boynton Beach Boulevard and the Turnpike, okay? The county adopted the commerce centers, and we accepted it. We have that on the north side of the property. We are excited about it coming in. We're tweaking it. Then on the south side, we have the essential housing. For the doctor that showed up to say we don't have any place for our residents to go. Yeah, no, you can't go and live right next door in the Ag Reserve. There are other areas. But we do have essential housing that's coming up in the Ag Reserve. We just approved probably 2 years ago, which hasn't even broken ground yet. Over 500 apartments at the Reserve at Atlantic has not even broken ground. So if it was that impertinent for us to be building workforce housing in the Ag Reserve to put nurses and residents in apartments, I think that it probably would have broken ground by now. For Ms. Morton to compare Meisner Park and PGA Commons, Meisner Park is on Federal Highway. PGA Commons is on I-95. We're talking about the Ag Reserve, remember? I am just so dismayed that you could, and under the rights, there are some people that want a hotel in the area. Find another place for it. It should not be in the Ag Reserve. And 100,000 square feet of a storage facility? Lord, do we really need another storage facility, much less in the Ag Reserve? We have 2 of them on Acme Dairy Road and Boynton Beach Boulevard that are going to be built. We do not need it. And 200,000 square feet of commercial that should be exempted, again, from the commercial cap. I'm abhorred. I can't believe it. Obviously, I'm voting no.
All right. For my comments, I mean, first of all, I think the staff did a fantastic job in putting this together. The reasons are very clear. The methodology is very good. It makes it hard for us to think of other alternatives because it is black and white to the most part. I mean, to the applicant, I think, like some of the commissioners stated, the project is a good project. Whether it's for this site or not is the real debate. The idea here is if essential housing is what you're trying to talk about, there is apparently a way to do it. Maybe that's what needs to be explored. There might be some benefits and commercial incentives that could be put in tied along with that, but I think to come up with a project that is asking for so many changes is very, very difficult for us as a board to look at. So just something along those lines. But I think it's the staff did a fantastic job on this. So thank you so much on that. But my vote's also going to be probably no on this. So.
I just want to make one point of clarification. So the motion is to deny initiation. So if you want to vote no, you got to vote yes.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So clarification. Motion to deny is what's on the table. Let's get a roll call on that.
Barbara Roth,
Yes.
Penny Pompey,
Reluctantly, yes.
Dagmar Braz,
Yes.
Rick Stopek,
Yes.
David Searle,
Yes.
Brian Stenberg,
Yes.
Marissa Lal Das,
Yes.
and Kerr Patel.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right. I personally need about a 2-minute break, so if we could take a 2-minute break, please, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
30 seconds.
Yes, Chair.
All right, we're going to go ahead and continue on with this meeting. The next item on the agenda is the Rawlings Estate text initiation. Applicant, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Matthew Barnes, Senior Project Manager with WGI. I am a co-agent on this. Here with me in the audience today is also co-agent Scott Backman, partner at Miskell Backman. As you've read in the staff report, this is an initiation of a text amendment for a proposed new overlay. I just want to orient you to where we are in the county, where we're talking about. So this is kind of a zoomed out view. We are north and west of the intersection of Okeechobee Boulevard and Seminole Pratt Whitney Road. Further to the north and west also of Lion Country Safari. So this is in the area where the Indian Trail Improvement District maintains the drainage and the roads as well. It is south of Sycamore Drive, and it borders onto 180th Avenue North. This is a little closer in view. The overlay area in total is just a shade over 104 acres. It is split into two different parcels, which is bisected by an access road that goes back to the it's called the Indian Trail Improvement District Impoundment Facility, the M2 Impoundment Facility, to our immediate kind of west and south. So where it lies in terms of the managed growth tier system, it is in the rural tier, and it's next to the exurban tier. So all of the lots that are in this portion of the acreage are in the exurban tier. Just a brief, couple slides on, the history of this area, which you probably know well. That if you go back about 30 years here in 1996, you can see it's the pattern of development is sort of laid out, but not a lot of development has occurred yet. And you jump ahead just a few years to 2002, and you can see, like in the acreage, the lots have been filled in a lot more, and then in the present day, it's the acreage is probably on the order of 90% built out. So we are proposing the following: to create the Rawlings Estate overlay in the rural tier, which would be revising objective 1.4, which would be which I'll get to in a minute. The reason we're doing the tier change, or not the tier change, the text change, is because in the rural tier now, you cannot develop more than 1 unit per 5 acres. And we're looking to do 1 unit per 1 acre. As you drill down into the objectives, there are some performance criteria, basically, that I'll show you in a minute. And then there's a table that we would have to revise in the comprehensive plan as well. So we would be doing, if this is initiated, we would be doing a concurrent future land use atlas amendment to go from the current RR10 to the LR1, again, to allow that 1 unit per acre density. We would be processing a concurrent rezoning from AR to RT, and a Class A conditional use. It would be required in this instance for a project, a residential project that has more than 50 acres. So here's that objective 1.4 in the rural tier. And you can see right now it says, the rural tier includes ag land and rural settlements that range in density from primarily 1 unit per 5 acres to 1 dwelling unit per 20 acres, except in special planning areas. And right now it says such as, but not limited to, the Western Communities Residential Overlay and the Trotting Center. We would be adding the Rawlings Estates overlay to that. And then as you drill down into the more specific objectives, we're proposing a development that would be, and I'll show you a preliminary subdivision plan later, that would be very similar in characteristics and size and lot pattern to the acreage to our east. So the objective of the overlay is to preserve the low-density rural character of the area by allowing residential development of 1 unit per acre, which is consistent with the existing lot pattern in the surrounding area. And then, sub-policy, point A defines the boundary specific to this property. And then these are it's not a complicated overlay. There's really 4 sort of performance criteria, but they're important. The first one is that the approval process, you have to do a future land use atlas amendment concurrent with a zoning and a zoning application as well, and you must submit either a preliminary master plan or a preliminary subdivision plan. We've prepared a preliminary subdivision plan. I'll share that with you in a minute. You have to do that so you can demonstrate compliance with these criteria. You need to be at least 100 acres in size. And just to be extra clear, I think I mentioned before, it's 2 different parcels, separated by an access road, so it would include sites that are contiguous, owned by the same property owner. Density, of course, this is a density and the next one, minimum lot size, tie together, but we're explicitly saying the maximum density would be 1 unit per acre with no further density increases permitted through density bonus programs such as transfer of development rights and the workforce housing program. And also and this was similar to a language that was in the Trotting Center overlay where it says the maximum density will be identified in the adopting ordinance. So should this move forward and ultimately be adopted, the actual density, the number of lots, would be identified in the adopting ordinance. So there'd be no, further increases beyond that. And then lastly, the minimum lot size, 1 acre minimum. So if you look at the land use map currently, this is what it looks like. So we are RR10. The only other RR10 immediately to us is the Indian Trail Improvement impoundment facility. There's more RR10 further to the west in the White Fences neighborhood. To our immediate north and west is RR5. And then again further to the north and then to our immediate east is in the exurban is the RR 2.5. And what we'd be proposing simply is to change, it would be both the overlay and then also changing the land use atlas to be from RR10 to LR1 to allow that 1 acre minimum lot size. This is an important slide, I think, to point out that, so though the acreage is in the exurban tier and it has the RR 2.5 land use designation, the average lot size, as pointed out in the staff report as well, and is about 1.25 acres per lot. And those lots, as you may or may not be familiar, that goes like lot to lot, so to speak. There's no dedicated right-of-way. Every lot in this area, their property line goes to the center line of the road. If there's a drainage ditch on the back side of the property, the lot line goes to the center line of the drainage canal. So there's no common areas, right? And there's no preserve areas that are being that have been preserved in the acreage. As I'll show you in a minute, our proposed subdivision plan, let me back over. So you cannot develop in that same pattern under the ULDC now. So our plan, we have, dedicated right-of-way inside the property, dedicated stormwater management areas, environmental preserve areas, wetland preserve areas, so that when you take the total size of our property, 104 acres, and we're proposing a maximum, right now we're proposing a maximum of 58 lots. That is a gross acres, a lot size of 1.8 acres per lot. So even though we're proposing 1 acre lots, we're essentially proposing 1.8 acre lots when you think of it on a gross perspective. So this next slide here is, again, this is a proposed subdivision plan. This has not been submitted. If we are initiated, I'll show you a slide in a second, we would be going forward, with a future land use atlas amendment and a rezoning. So this would get submitted and reviewed by the DRO process at that time. So the plan, as you can see, is, again, it's the 2 parcels. The concentration of most of the lots would be on so north is oriented to the right here. We had to rotate it in order to fit it on the screen best. So north is to the right. So the northern parcel, would be developed with approximately, in this layout, 51 lots. And there would be 7 lots on the south parcel for a total of 58. They're all 1-acre lots. But we would have, a centralized stormwater retention area on the north side with some supplementary dry retention. On the south parcel, there would be dry retention. And you can see we're also preserving 6.75 acres of wetlands and about 14.3 acres of uplands in the project. And that's, again, that's why, like, when you look on the gross acreage, these are essentially 1.8 acre lots when you factor in all those things, especially, the 40-foot wide right-of-way that we'd be proposing inside of our property. We would be connecting to 180th Avenue North. We would not be connecting to our west or to our north. We're lining up our proposed connection points with the adjacent roadway network. We're not going to be halfway between 2 different roads. And again, all of that would be reviewed during the, in terms of traffic impact, and that kind of stuff would be reviewed by Palm Beach County Land Development and Traffic, as well as, now the Indian Trail Improvement District is part of the DRO review process as well. So this would be the process going forward. If it moves forward, this would go to the BCC for initiation on May 1st, and then we would follow that up in early May by submitting the Future Land Use Atlas intake, also intake in early May for the rezoning in Class A, and then it would move forward, into the fall and early next year with those various processes. I mentioned, this is in the ITID district, so we've been talking to Indian Trail since about last June about potential development on the property. But then recently, in late March, on March 27th, we did go to the ITID board, and they voted to begin the activation process for the property, which is essentially us asking for them to study if we come into their district. I mean, we're in the boundaries of the district. We would be activated to pay our fair share for drainage and roadway maintenance purposes. Again, I mentioned they're part of the DRO review process, so they would be reviewing the proposed subdivision plan in detail. They have seen it. I'd like to report that they were pleased with the subdivision plan, that it's 1-acre lots. It's not it's not quarter-acre lots. It's not half-acre lots. It's strictly 1-acre lot minimums, low density, no impact to their impoundment facility for sure. Again, staff recommends to initiate it. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Staff?
Good morning. Nice to see you all again. Travis Goodson with the Planning Division. This is the Rawlings Estates privately initiated text amendment application. This request within the rural tier. So as Mr. Barnes has indicated, this is a site-specific text amendment request for a 104-acre parcel located in the Central Western Communities area of the rural tier, generally located north of Southern Boulevard, west of 180th Avenue North, and just south of Sycamore Drive. The site is comprised of 2 parcels separated by an Indian Trail Improvement District canal or roadway, outlined in red here on this map. If the board initiates, the applicant will submit a future land use amendment application in May to request rural residential 1 unit per 10 acres to the low residential 1 unit per acre future land use designation. And so the intent of this amendment, text amendment request, is to amend rural tier policies found in Objective 1.4 in order to create the new overlay that would allow a maximum density of up to 1 unit per acre. For added context, and as you may recall from prior requests recently in the rural tier, the overarching intent of the tier is to recognize the rural residential, equestrian, and agricultural uses of the area. It sets density and minimum residential lot sizes based upon the assigned future land use designation. For example, RR5, 1 unit per 5 acres, minimum lot size of 5 acres. RR10, 1 unit per 10 acres, minimum lot size of 10 acres, and so forth. The plan also directs for rural levels of service and also directs the zoning code to provide for additional rural design regulations. And this primarily apply to non-residential developments. And so to recap, the proposed private text amendment would revise these rural tier policies to establish the new Rawlings Estates overlay, allow for a maximum density of up to 1 unit per acre, with no density increases available through density bonus programs, and it would establish location criteria, minimum acreage, and minimum lot sizes within the overlay. Would also require submittal of a concurrent zoning application for review of a preliminary site plan, master plan, or subdivision plan at the same time as this would go through the process. And so staff's assessment is the proposed overlay is confined to the subject 104-acre site and provides a density increase mechanism alternative to just a tier change. Initiation also provides the opportunity for the Board of County Commissioners to consider and direct policy direction on how this text amendment should or should not proceed. However, it's been said before, initiation does not indicate staff support, does not indicate support for final developed language or the future land use amendment itself. However, should the board initiate the amendment, staff will return with the full data analysis, staff report, and presentations that will come before you and the Board of County Commissioners in a few months. And so in consideration of this base information and as detailed in the published staff report, staff is recommending initiation of the requested text amendment, and so today's recommended motion would be to initiate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comments?
We do. We
All right.
have Drew Martin, if you'd like to come to the podium to address the panel.
This is how I get my exercise. Thank you, staff, for your presentation. I don't really, I don't think the Sierra Club necessarily would oppose this. However, I do have some concerns, and I just want to express those. I expect that you'll probably take staff recommendation to initiate. My first question is, why the density? And we just had a huge discussion at the County Board of Commissioners about the traffic out there, which is horrendous. And as we all know, because of Westlake, there's a lot of traffic. Now, I don't know where this development is in relation to Westlake and the traffic coming out of there and how this will impact it. But I do know that the people who live out there are complaining, and the county has decided to do a road study. And so I might say maybe this development should come after the county does the road study, not before it, because it is an increase in density. And when you look at the plan, it looks fairly dense. Now, they have some nice things. I'm glad they're going to preserve some pines. I hope you're going to preserve some slash pines and some wetlands, and that's definitely a benefit, and to take on some of the water for the runoff on the property there. That's definitely a benefit. There is a lack of drainage out there. There's no question. We've been very fortunate. We haven't had a severe hurricane. We haven't had severe flooding in a number of years. But this will increase the flooding potential when you add another 100 homes. So my two concerns would be traffic and flooding, and how will this impact that? And I hope, I guess a lot of this you'll say, well, we'll get to that bridge after we initiate it, and then when we come in with the development and we look at the site plan and all that. And, that's fair enough. But I think that when we're looking at such severe traffic problems out there, I hate to see us throwing kindling on a fire that's already raging. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one other comment card from a Christina Jones, who is in opposition to the plan. She does not wish to speak, but asks the following comments to be read into the record. Quote, this sets a precedent overall by changing what is minimally acceptable for the area. This would add unacceptable increased density that the area cannot handle, especially given that the road and traffic issues, end quote. So we'll add that to the record. That's it.
All right, we'll go to questions by the commission. Start with Commissioner Braz.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for my outburst. I do get a little emotional. I'm sorry. My question is, it doesn't sound bad. I mean, I like this a lot better than that real high density stuff, and it seems to give more people opportunity to actually do that dream home with a little elbow room. My question is the developer going to build these homes, or are these just going to be lots that are for sale that you come and buy and everybody gets to build their own idea?
It's to be determined at this point, but yeah, probably it'd be a developer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Pompey. No. Commissioner Das? No. Commissioner Roth?
Yes, please. A question about that road study. How has that been requested by the BCC? I remember the discussion over the last couple of months. What's the timing on that?
Can you answer that one?
The road study, with all the discussion we've had over the last few months about that area, is there a time for a report on the road study?
I think he was referring to the proposed 10 amendment that we went through and this board denied, and the Board of County Commissioners as well denied it. So there are no planned studies for that area at this point for traffic.
So there's nothing. I do remember when those roads, came up here. So there's nothing else that the Board of County Commissioners has requested in terms of that area directly from you?
No. I think the commissioner for this district asked to look into also bringing back another 10 amendment for North Lake that would have prompted some studies, and that was also denied by the board.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, Commissioners. Thank you. Oh, Commissioner Steinberg?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your presentation this morning. So my question has to do with something that's written in Exhibit 2, the applicant's justification for text amendment. And the quote is in Section 4, consistency with the comprehensive plan. And my question is, how does this change aid in addressing the ongoing housing crisis? What's in terms of this particular proposed development or change, I should say, what is the housing crisis that we're aiding and addressing here?
Well, it is new housing stock. It is, right? So it would be allowing a project to go forward that under the current RR10, it's just not economically feasible to develop anything on the property at that density. And we're proposing a density that we believe is consistent with the lot pattern mostly around us, right? These aren't going to be, because in the rural tier, they're not going to be workforce housing units. We can't increase through workforce housing program, but the housing stock as a whole it's a large system, and you can feed into it at many different points, and it all housing circulates through the system, so any amount you can add to it helps even a little bit. I think that's the best way I can answer that.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Searle?
I have two questions for staff.
First question is, it's a site-specific overlay. Because it's a site-specific overlay and the applicant is saying 58 homes, why are we going to a 1 unit per acre? Why aren't we, because we could do a hybrid model if it's a site-specific overlay, right? You could do 1.5.
So that there's only a certain number of land use designations that we have available currently. So right now, RR 2.5 is the highest designation. That's in the exurban tier, and then we have LR1 in the urban suburban tier. So this one kind of sandwiches right in between. So they are seeking the LR1 designation.
Because my only concern is theoretically, they'll be allowed 104 homes, even though they're committing to 58. And if, let's say, they sell the property, new developer now has the right to 104 homes, designs that accordingly, now you have 104 times, let's say 208 cars dumping onto Prado Road. And I don't think those roads are meant for that many cars to be dumped onto them. So how do we protect that sort of thing? And that might be in the process of this that you're going to go over this, but I think it's an important question to think about while you're going through this initiation on what sort of limitations the applicant's willing to do and you're willing to put in there to make sure that we're not burdening these rural roads with 200 cars.
Right, yeah.
Traffic.
So should the board initiate it, the FLUA amendment would come in the application, and as part of the conditions of approval, you could definitely expect us to have a condition limiting the site to those number of residential units with no additional density increases allowed.
Okay. Oh. Sorry, Ms.
Yeah.
Commissioner Roth.
Oh, are you done? Yeah.
Go ahead.
That reminded me of something in terms of progressive density. I'm thinking to a project in front of Heritage Farms. Of course, that was going on to Route 441, and that was progressive from the west heading east, so that you had, I believe, there were 2 5-acre lots and then several 3-acre lots, as I recall, and then the 1-acre lots. Was consideration given to any variation at all? I know you're saying 58 homes, but it's 104 acres. Did anyone ever suggest varying the lot sizes?
Was that for
I'm
me or
sorry,
was
to
that-
the applicant.
Okay.
My apologies.
No worries. Well, you're talking about the trotting center, I think, your example. And yeah, there were like 2 3-acre lots, then there were some half-acre lot sizes, and then there were sort of quarter-acre lot sizes closer to 441. That's fundamentally different than this. I mean, 441, is and then to the east, on the east side of 441 was, your traditional suburban master PUD kind of development. This is fundamentally different in that we're not on a major road at all. I mean, 180th Avenue North is a typical Indian Trail Improvement District road. It's, about 20 feet wide, like all the other roads. So we did not give consideration to, maybe a 3-acre lot here and or 2-acre lot there. We were just trying to match the pattern. At the same time, maximizing the number of lots we could get, and recognizing that there's a need, it needs to work financially as well to be able to go. So we just did the 1-acre lots kind of flat, and with the size of the property, and we did conscientiously stay away from the western side of the southern property, which is closest to the impoundment facility, but also where we believe some of the highest quality upland preserve is, and the wetlands as well. So we did kind of take that in consideration as well.
All right. I think I'm done with my questions. Motion? Anyone?
I'm sorry. I would move to accept the text amendment as submitted for the Rawlings property.
Motion to initiate.
Second.
Okay, got it. And if no discussions, all in favor? Aye. Okay. That's easy.
Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. I think then, any comments by any members of the commission?
Thank you for the snacks, staff. It's greatly appreciated.
Good point. Thank you.
Anyone else? I just want to say, I mean, like I said, there was some really good details given into some of this stuff, and I do appreciate the work you guys did. So,
Thanks.
All right, Executive Director, anything?
Hello, Cindy Hoskin, Deputy Executive Director. Whitney is in a planning conference in Minnesota, so I'm sitting in for her today. I have no comments, just to say appreciate your hard work.
No.
Can I ask a question? Because I know you're just the deputy, or you are the deputy, not just, sorry for that adjective. The question that I have is, we have been promised off and on that we would have a follow-up report every month on what the BCC approved of the things that we sent up there. But I haven't seen a report in months, so it would be nice if that were implemented again.
Noted. I will. I'll discuss that to see how we can make sure that you get the report.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, County Attorney.
No comments.
All right, and then I gave you my request, so.
That's correct. I'll look into that and get back to you.
Perfect. Planning Director?
Nothing additional. Thank you.
All right, so then, if nothing else, motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.
So moved.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.